Fucking brutal. Brutal. All right, so welcome to hell, motherfuckers. And I got a old buddy on today that's going to join me for some chatting. This is the second interview on the Welcome to Hell channel. So episode 14. And I got my old buddy, RHETT Davis from many bands, started off in Biopsy / Morjon. And here he is. We're going to talk about Biopsy and Morjon pretty soon here, but I'm going to, this fucking show is not about me. It's about RHETT. What's up, brother?
What's up?
Thanks for fucking joining me. I know you hate this shit and you'd rather be watching Sci-Fi Channel and fucking hanging out with the cats and the doggos. So you taking a couple hours to chat with me.
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, my PS4 will be fine without me for 2 hours. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be cool. I'm sure fucking the viewers and listeners and all that shit, they'll appreciate it because I know you don't do very many of these fucking things because I know they're fucking annoying, but fucking, I think.
Well, considering that you and I have known each other since we were teenagers, I think I'll make an exception. Yeah, it's all good.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with these things, I tend to just shut the fuck up and let the guests talk a little bit. So we'll pretty much do that. But yeah, fuck it. Let's start with how's everything going, man? What's up? What you been up to?
Well, I mean, I just did a West Coast tour with Stygian Crown, and that was fun. It was a really good time, and we're kind of we don't have much going on right now, so I think we're just going to start moving to start writing album number 3. I think We don't have any gigs really till next year, so it's kind of, maybe a few things in the pipeline. I'm making an effort for. But outside of that, I've been putting off the Ceremonial Decay first album. So we're we practiced last night, and I think we all agree that we have 5 songs, maybe 6. We're still kind of like, kind of fixing things, still kind of trying to figure things out. It just sucks because, like, you start to make some momentum, and then we kind of, life happens, and then all of a sudden we haven't seen each other in 5-6 weeks, and then we're like, what the fuck did we just do the last time we were here? So it's kind of like that. We're just trying to remember, well, yeah, that's right, we did write this song, so it was like things like that. So we're just trying to get it together. And then funnily enough, after a lot of debate and stuff, I guess I'm doing Grave Hill album number 5. So we started rehearsing yesterday. So we have an actual lineup, which is the ongoing joke, as you know, is that every single Grave Hill release is a different lineup. So
yeah.
So
okay.
This will be no different. This will be a different lineup too. So we got basically Mike Davis, who's basically been, as you've known him as long as I have, that he's got a lot more time on his hands, so he's ready to he's ready to spend some time with music again. He's kind of been on and off, like helping out Grave Hill as it is. When we played the California Death Fest, he played guitar, so I mean it was really it's kind of a no-brainer. But the funny part with this is that we were trying to figure out what we were going to do, because we didn't have a bass player and we weren't sure what we were going to do. So Nelson's actually moving to bass, and Matt Price is joining on other guitar.
Oh wow!
So it'll be cool. It'll be definitely. I mean, I love playing with Matt. So honestly, I love playing with Nelson and Jason, and I love playing with everybody anyway. But it'll be cool to have this new option with Matt. So since we only get to do the Sons of Satan thing every once in a while, so
no, that's a ripper. That's rad. Fuck
yeah. So I mean, it'd be cool having him and Mike both just like basically shredding face. So that'll be kind of cool. But
I forget. Excuse me, Mike's really good too. So
yeah, Mike, it's funny, he's got all this new gear, and he bought like 3 new guitars, sold all his old guitars, and he's just like so raring to go. So he was, it's kind of fun. He's definitely, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, he's like the first real musician I ever jammed with. So it's kind of fun to somebody I've known that long to make music with again is pretty cool. So
yeah, everything comes full circle,
Yeah. So I mean, so there's that, and I get to see him a bit more often, which is cool. And then Nelson loves the shit out of him, and so does Jason. So it's it's pretty amicable. We're all pretty happy with that. So we haven't brought Matt in yet, just because I just kind of feel like he's like this older brother that we all look up to, and we're just a bunch of dumb kids trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing. So I really don't want to bring him in until he's like we're till a little bit more prepared. So been playing Stygian Crown for so long, everyone's just like, I'm not ready for this fast shit right now. So there's that too, so, but it wasn't too bad. But yeah, Mike's got about 3 songs and Nelson's got 3 more songs. So I don't really foresee us taking too long to put out an album. So I think as long as we spend the time, then we'll have something together. But outside of that, I mean, all the other boring shit, work and, PS4. We got a new dog. Didn't intend. Well, I don't know. You can see her ass in the background right now. That's literally her ass. Her ass is right there in the background. She's a stray. Like somebody dumped her in our neighborhood, and I saw her when I was out walking, and we just took her in. We just felt sorry for her, and turns out that we had no idea that she was only a 6-month-old puppy, and she's 62 fucking pounds. So
yeah, right.
So yeah, she's a wrecking ball. So that's been entertaining. So she's going to be right in the background this whole time, chewing on a cat scratcher that I bought for my cat, and she's decided that I'm just going to destroy this cat scratcher. So that's her. Yeah, that's what she's doing right at this very moment. So yeah, she's a Great Pyrenees, a purebred, which I didn't even know what they were. And funnily enough, just to bring up, I had posted about her on Facebook or whatever, Instagram, and the first text message I get is from Zan. And Zan's like, those are great fucking dogs, bro. He's like, he was more excited about the dog than me. So, my friend had like 2 of them and they could fucking take out a wolf, bro. He's like, just going off about it. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, they are killer dogs. That's killer. It's gonna get massive, man. So
she's already massive. Jesus Christ. I mean, she goes running across the room and jumps on me, and I feel like I'm gonna die. So it's just too much. But yeah, outside of that, she's a handful, but I think we have a year more of this, and then she'll kind of start to chill out. But we'll see. But yeah, outside of that, that's everything. So
nice. So yeah, I wanted to touch basically we'll get started on how did you discover music, and what were your early memories? Was it your parents, your sister, friends, as far as getting into rock and roll, or any type of music for that matter? How did you get involved with getting into whatever it was, pop, classical, rock and roll, new wave, whatever?
Well, I think that my sister and her boyfriend then husband later were pretty much the first real serious music people around me. My mom was never really big into music, more or less. I think she just kind of, it was there, but never something that she really paid attention to. My dad, he not really. He's also kind of the same as my mom. Was never a big music person. But the first record I ever got was Chipmunk Punk. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
Chipmunk Punk, and it had all these pop songs that the Chipmunks sang. Had like Blondie doing "Call Me" and shit like that. And that's the first album. That, and I think Disco Duck were like the first albums I ever got. And I think once I think I really started paying attention to music, I think is when I think my brother-in-law, for first time hearing, he's a huge Rush fan. So I think hearing Rush and Led Zeppelin and Dio and Sabbath and things like that, kind of cemented it. And I think the first time, because remember when MTV didn't exist, and then all of a sudden MTV was there. And, in the early days, remember MTV actually played music. So that was another thing too, is you were inundated with all this music at that period of time. So, and then when heavy metal became kind of a commercial thing, in the early 80s, I remember, seeing Iron Maiden and Motley Crue, Judas Priest, all that, me and friends watching, I don't know if you remember that it's actually a bootleg Judas Priest video, but I remember us sitting around waiting for that video to come on, spending 4 hours, waiting till midnight to see this live Judas Priest for Defenders of the Faith, stuff like that. It was, that was the impressionable. I think it's once I hit a certain age, and then there was this impressionable thing, about music. And then drums was kind of I always was interested in drums. There was always something I always had a thing for, but, my mom basically did everything in her power to avoid it until I was just too old to be told, forget it,
Noisy.
Yeah, exactly. It's no, hell no, so, and then also too, it's an expensive thing. And it's if I don't really take any time to really play, then it was kind of I just wasted a bunch of hundreds of dollars for nothing. So there was kind of that too. So when I finally did get the drum set, it was this thing where I had to prove that I actually cared about it, and I would go out and play it,
Right.
And, then once I, got old enough where there were, friends that had instruments, and we'd all try to make our first band, which was terrible. And, just trying to, figure shit out, and, that was kind of the fledgling years of it all. And then, it's kind of funny how time flies if you really think about it. Cause the moment you're playing your instrument in your bedroom, and the next thing you know, you're playing with a couple of friends. And then before you know it, you're in actual band, and before you know it, you're actually playing shows, and then you actually recorded a demo. So I mean, I was doing all this stuff when I was a teenager. So my first demo was I was a teenager. So I mean, that first Morgion demo. So yeah, so I mean, I was 18. We did that. So so it was like things like that. But I think I really think that in retrospect, my brother-in-law was the one that really kind of, and I only had sisters, so I never had a brother. So he was the closest thing to a brother too. So somebody to look up to, and he was really into music, and he had a lot of records, and he had a lot of really cool records. And, I would just sit there for hours looking at all his records, and, him telling stories about seeing Rush in the 70s and, UFO and, so, Sammy Hagar to Van Halen to, so a lot of great stories. So it was like, stuff like that. So that really kind of got me. Well, that's really what it kind of was. I think I was in some ways trying to impress him too, trying to, because he was somebody I looked up to. So it was like, him constantly air drumming to Neil Peart, so there was also too, just watching him just like running through the living room, just doing those epic drum rolls, So yeah, he was a very animated person. So it was really cool to see, so that was kind of that too, And then, but I think as far as bands go, I think the band that really made the biggest impression in the very beginning was Motley Crue. That was like, once I saw Tommy Lee play, I think that's when I was like, I really want to be a drummer. I mean, who knew, who would really know what, kind of guy he became years and years later. But with being a kid and not knowing shit, and like you're watching, I'm seeing Live Wire on MTV, and like and then buying the Too Fast for Love, and then just like he's a beast of a drummer. So it was like
badasses back then too, man.
Oh yeah,
so like evil and tough and
badass. Yeah. And then Theater of Pain came, and then and then Theater of Pain came, and they're wearing friggin' pink fucking underwear and everything. It's like, okay,
downfall.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So
what are you doing?
So yeah, it was, but then, that I think that was really, for me, that was like the and then I think also too, like after being in the impression of Motley Crue, and then, my friends, my close friends, like, say, no, you need to listen to this, and then putting on Iron Maiden Killers, and then like, okay, this is something else entirely. And then when Peace of Mind came out, and I bought Peace of Mind, and my friend was just playing it over and over and over again, and then I borrowed his copy and just playing it over and over and over again. So that was also another one that was like, there was just something about that. This, like, it felt like there's a maturity to this that Motley Crue didn't quite have.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's kind of mind blowing. I mean, Motley Crue rules, but it was much the same way. Once you hear Iron Maiden, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, then you're like, well, what else is there? What other things can, and then, then the impression, then it just became this, what's more evil, what's faster, what's more vicious, what's shit that I know my fucking mom's going to hate. Like, what's the stuff that, I want to find that,
Right.
So, getting to like the first Wasp album to, the first time I heard when I heard Kill 'Em All, I was like, I couldn't grasp it. I didn't understand it. I was like, I'm listening to it, and I couldn't stop listening to it. I was like, how they would do those intentional stops. Like, they didn't write songs conventionally. They didn't do like rock formula. They were very unconventional. At least to me, I didn't get it. So like when, they had a little bit of that punk background there, and, which I was fucking alien to in that period of time. And then, when I heard that, and they would stop, and I think the song was done, and it's still the same song, It's like, what is this? So, and then how evil it sounded, and like, just like, these guys are up to no good, I need to listen to this, and then, of course, you and I've talked about it a million times. Like, as soon as fucking Venom came into my world, and Slayer, and then it was like, it's all fucking over. That was pretty much like, there was like nothing that's better than that at that point. I was like, it's Venom or fuck everything. So, so
absolutely. No, fuck it. Hey, once you hear stuff like that, it's over. Venom, Slayer, that Metallica stuff, and then obviously we'll get into the more extreme underground stuff here in a bit. But I mean, that kind of covered my next set of questions as far as how you got involved in drumming, and then how did you get involved in the underground. But you can elaborate on both of those if you want. I mean, we got an idea. Obviously, I think Neil Peart was probably your big guy, you know, when you were coming up, and then you
Neil Peart and John Bonham. I think I was more like when I heard John Bonham and I heard Bill Ward, you know, then Vinny Appice, like these kick drums, and and a lot of it was like, you know, I mean, Tommy Lee was a huge part of that too. I mean, his fucking kick was just in your face, and that's, for some reason, that shit always just kind of stuck with me. Neil Peart, I mean, in the grand scope of things, Neil Peart has a huge kit, is always like all over it. Like, there was so much that he does, and he's filling every single pocket and every possible, it's like he's filling spaces. Like, there's always something happening. He never would just like Phil Rudd, you know, the AC/DC Phil Rudd, where he would just sit back and just carry that beat. Just keep that heartbeat going. No, Neil Peart's he's got to basically, you know, he's got to put you in a grand mal seizure. He's got to literally just, you know, attack your senses. So that was kind of that. So, I mean, again, you know, I think the Bonham thing was really kind of where I just kind of concentrated, and it always stuck. So, I mean, everything that I do and all music I do in a lot of ways is because of all those heavy-handed, you know, big kick kind of thing was always and playing the backbeat and like that kind of shit, you know. I never liked things to be overly complicated, as you know. I would, you know, writing music, remember, I would just sit there and say, you know, why are you making this so fucking complicated? Make this stupid. Make it dumb. Like, literally, the dumb riffs are the best riffs. You know, I don't care what anybody says. You know, basically, you know, you're making this way too overcomplicated. This is not a fucking math equation. You know, you're not trying to impress your calculus friends. You know, just fucking write a riff that, you know, comes from the heart and comes from your fucking nuts. Like, make it fucking count. You know, so that was kind of.
Got me?
Uh-oh.
Okay. You good?
Yeah, we lost each other for a moment there.
Yeah. Technical difficulties, but I think we're back up. So, yeah.
Okay.
You were talking about Bonham. Yeah, I think Bonham, like, real quick, it's interesting, too, because, like, Neil Peart, Tommy Lee, they're, like, tall and lanky, but they have really good techniques in their wrist and their ankles, obviously. Bonham is just like a bruiser. He was like this British farm boy. That had, I mean, he was thinner, but he was yoked naturally, you know, and he just looked like one of those guys you didn't want to fuck with, man. He was just a solid built dude, and that's why he just pounded the living shit out of his fucking drums. But he had the technique too, but he had that strength too. It was like a natural strength or something, and there's
always so many cool stories about Neil. You know, about John Bonham. There's so many cool stories of just reading about, you know, his drum tech and talking about, you know, how he specifically wanted things done on the kit. You know, just like very, you know, some stuff, I guess, in some ways unconventional, because, you know, he liked really worn in drum heads, which is not usually a drummer thing. You know, most of the time we really want kind of fresh heads that got a lot of, you know, return, and, you know, he wants them that they're just beat the absolute shit, and those are the best heads. You know, the ones that are on the verge of basically breaking are the ones that he wants to use, you know. And so to me, I always thought that was like really cool. You know, he was like very, very specific. And I guess you'd say that with any musician, really. Everyone has like a thing. They got hangups, you know, we all do, you know. But yeah, I mean, as far as like early days in drumming and stuff, the very first drum set I ever had was, it wasn't even a Pearl. It was like some offbeat Pearl drum set called Max Win by Pearl. And it was burgundy red. And I mean, I had like, I was a kid when I was 11 when I got the drum set, so I had like no fucking clue. I just kind of, I didn't really know how to set it up. And I remember times where I'd go in a music store and I would look at the drum sets they had set up to go, am I setting this up right? You know, and just got, you know, and then years and years later, posture and the way that you sit, the way that, where your elbows are supposed to be and all that kind of shit, I kind of learned later on, it was all kind of, kind of failure. Okay, this works,
Yeah.
So I had that piece of shit. And then later on, I wanted, because of course, the whole idea when you're a drummer, especially, back in the day, was that, it had to be a double bass kit. You had to play double bass. That was the factor you had to have, and so this 5-piece Maxwell Pearl, burgundy, ugly, 70s drum set. And so I went to try to buy a double bass kit, even though I'm a kid. And I at the time, I think I worked at fucking Taco Bell. And I was like, Taco Bell money is really not going to help me get a double bass drum set at this time, but I was trying, I went to places trying to find a double bass kit. And every time I come to one, and keep in mind, this is like what, 89, 90. And, it's like $1,200 for a double bass kit, which is a fucking lot of money back then, I mean, I was lucky if I could put together $300,
Yeah.
So I was like, I go in and these guys constantly at Guitar Center and shit, like, hey, you should just get a double pedal. Fuck double pedals. I want a double bass, that's bullshit. That's not double bass, so the double pedal, it's like, you have $300, you can get a double pedal. I was like, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. So yeah. So eventually, my dad it was like my birthday or Christmas or some shit. And my dad said, I can give you $300 to get a drum set. So he gave me $300 and everyone's trying to talk me into a double pedal. And then finally I went into a Guitar Center in West Covina, I think. And I walked in and I wanted, and the guy again is trying to talk me into buying a double pedal. And they had this 5-piece, I think it was a Tama Rockstar. And it was all chrome, and it was back in the era of time where they had those fucking deep ass power toms, like like deep toms. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, and so they wanted I think they wanted like $600 for it or $550 or some shit like that. And I had 300, and he sold it to me with just 2 of the rack toms and the bass drum for $300. So I took that drum set and that piece of shit Maxwell Pearl and put those together, which was stupid anyway, because they were all the rack toms were the same. So it's 12, 13, 12, 13. So, I mean, it was impressive to look at when you set it up because it was double bass and it had the 4 toms, but it was like, it was a fucking piece of shit with these 2 things put together and all these drums that didn't work out. And I couldn't tune it to where, you could do a proper roll on it, it just sounded fucked up. And, but I didn't care, it's double bass, it's got, this is a shit that, Dave Lombardo's playing on, and, I tried that out for a while, and that was the first kit I had, when Morgion started. That's what I had at that period of time. And I mean, if you really think about it, all of us were kind of, struggling with gear,
Absolutely.
So we were all trying to, I remember Dwayne had this PV Butcher half stack, which, is like, kind of in some circles is legendary, the PV Butcher, which is like this huge fucking head that weighs like 150 pounds. It's like, it's massive. It's like moving his shit sucked. I just remember that. And then I think Jeremy had like a 410 in his bass head, but he always seemed to, be proper on his gear. And Mike Davis, who played the other guitar, Mike had a guitar but no amp. And then I think like we would do rent by hour and Mike would borrow, they would have gear there to let you use or whatever. And he would, and I remember the second practice that we ever did this. And again, when you mentioned fucking biopsy, that was, when we were biopsy. And, which, I'll go into that argument later, but basically we were going into this rehearsal room and it was this place called, it was on Beach Boulevard in Anaheim. It became Squid Music like afterwards. And they had these rehearsal rooms there. And, it was just like a rent by hour. And then they had like a record store in there. And the guy that run it was this guy named Jonah. It's like all these years. This is over 30 years ago, and I still remember this. And we went into there and to go in to rent the room, and we go up to the dude and we pay the money to get the room. And Mike says, "Hey, I need to rent or borrow a half stack." And the guy just fucking annoyed, like just super annoyed, just looks at Mike and goes, "Doesn't anybody have their own fucking gear anymore?" And we all just kind of look at each other, and it's like, apparently not.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, what's the use?" And then fucking just throws the key at us, and then brings this half stack to the room when we're setting up. And so they had a camera in there, but we weren't really paying attention to that. And we were in there, and the entire time we were making fun of Jonah. Like we were, it's every time we do something, "Oh, what's the use?" We're like constantly just yelling that and just, and just imitating him the entire time. And then we're getting towards the end of practice, and Jeremy's standing there and he points up at the wall. He's like, "Hey, look." And we see there's a camera there. We're like, "Oh shit." Oops. He just watched us talk shit about him for the last hour and a half. So we go back inside to turn in the gear and pay the final deposit or whatever. I think it was like $20. We had to pay like $20 to get in, and then you pay $10 after. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And we go back inside it. As we walk in the door, he's like sitting behind the fucking desk, and he's just all. He's just looking at us fucking just this pissed off look on his face. And we're the entire time we're just like, "Oh, what's the use?" And he just literally looked like he wanted to fucking murder us. And then we were just like, "Okay, well, I guess this is the last time we're practicing here."
Yeah, and Jonah wasn't going to off himself prior to that. He was after you
I just remember we were trying to find a place to practice after that place, and we used to practice at that DC Sparks place where Dark Angel practiced. Yeah, that's where we met Mind Rock, because they were in the room next to us, and Phobia too. Phobia was in, we would come into practice, and it was either Phobia or Mind Rot or both bands there at the same time. That's how we all met each other. And one time we couldn't get into DC Sparks for some reason because they were all booked up. And, we're like, "Oh, fuck, I guess we're going to have to go back to Jonah's or whatever." And Jeremy went in there one day to see about, renting the space or whatever. And he walked in, and instead of having music instruments and stuff, a lot of the gear was gone, and there were all these shoes. It became like a fucking shoe store. So, and then Jeremy's like, "Yeah, I don't think we can practice there anymore because it's like a fucking shoe store now." So, but yeah, there was the biopsy thing. That's right. So
yeah, the biopsy thing. So
am I obligated to bring up Dan Skinner? Is that the obligation now? Is the Dan Skinner story?
Basically, I was gonna kind of get into I was curious first, how did you transition to the underground stuff with death metal and stuff like that from what the normal progression is heavy metal, thrash metal, right, death metal or whatever. So I wanted to get into that and then we could start with the biopsy.
Well, that's easy. Death metal, basically, right when I was a freshman in high school, I met this kid named Jamie, and Jamie basically, my other buddy Herman met him during lunch or whatever, another metal kid. And, he introduced me to him, and this kid was it was fucking awesome. You go over to his house, and he had this, I don't know if you remember those tape cases where cassettes would be on one side and you'd flip it over and there'd be more cassettes on the other. Mm-hmm. It's this double two-ended cassette case. Yeah. And so we would go over to Jamie's house or whatever, and this kid had fucking so many bands that I was I knew who they were, but I either couldn't find them or I didn't have the money to buy them or whatever. And so, put this on, put this on, put this on. So he's the kid that eventually, by the time we're in high school, some years, of knowing him, he would start, he learned about tape trading, and all of a sudden demos started to appear. Then he started hearing about radio shows that only played really underground shit. And there was a KSPC radio in Claremont. It was a college not far from us, and they would play demos and shit. The first time I heard Thy Kingdom Come from Morbid Angel was on that radio show. Nice. The Autopsy demo, Critical Madness, Sadist, then, because we had already heard Death but it really wasn't like a genre yet.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you know, there were fucking bands galore. You know, the Immolation demo, like Nocturnus, you know, Science of Horror, like all that shit. So it was like, you know, we knew about this. Jamie had told us about this record store in Pasadena called Thrash Metal Records. Swear to God.
Records. Yep.
Yeah, and we went there, and they, you know, this guy was selling fucking import cassettes. Like I saw all these import cassettes for like $25, and it was just unheard of. You know, back that the $25 for a fucking cassette is like holy shit. You know, it's like $10 at most. It's like $8-10. So $25. So I remember we went in there and we saw the you know, right when Altars of Madness came out, and we saw that on tape for $25. And then Jamie's like, hey, you know, I heard about this record store that's in LA called Wild Rags Records. We should go there. And at the time, you know, we still weren't driving, you know, we were 15, you know, and 15, like just about to be 16. But, you know, there's no fucking way that any one of us would have a mom that would let us borrow a car to drive all the way to LA to fucking, you know, especially, you know, to go buy records, you know. So it became to eventually one of us had a friend had a car that could drive, and we went to Wild Rags. And then it was just like Richard C. opened up a fucking world beyond anything that any one of us ever could imagine. There was more music, more shit in that fucking store than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. It was just overwhelming. Like, you know, I remember all the demos and the mail crates that are underneath all where all the records were, and all the fans, just piles and piles and piles of fanzines, and, you know, underground fucking t-shirts, and, you know, the Sepultura Schizophrenia t-shirts, and like, you know, just like all kinds of shit that, you know, again, you know, just, you know, for those watching this was like before any of this shit was common knowledge. It was like, you know, there was so much shit. I just remember spending an hour, 2 hours in that place, just going through the vinyl, just like, you know, I'll never forget the very first time I was there and I saw fucking, you know, Blasphemy, Fallen Angel of Doom. And I was just like, I saw that record and just looking at that picture of the band on the back, and just the whole time going, what in the fuck is this? You know, Impetigo and, you know, Nuclear Death, and, you know, so, but anyway, I mean, Richard C. was the one that, you know, I just walked up and I could get, you know, Altars of Madness on tape from him for $12, while the other place was like 25, you know, and then, you know, and then when Left Hand Path came out, like basically I think like what started is when Jamie introduced me to the Grind Crusher compilation. He somehow got a hold of the Grind Crusher compilation, and then that just opened a massive door. And then Morbid Angel, you know, Carcass, you know, all those bands, all the earache stuff, especially. And then, you know, I remember buying, going to Wild Rags and buying Autopsy, Severed Survival right when it came out, and Terrorizer, World Downfall, another one. And Altars of Madness I bought there. I bought Left Hand Path there, Dark Recollections, Hallucinations, Cadaver. Like, I mean, dude, it was just like you walked out of there and you were not disappointed. Like, no matter what, you're coming home with something fucking awesome, you know? I think one of the coolest lores about Wild Rags, and I found this out later through someone else, was that the demo boxes, when he had all those mail crates that were full of demos, and just start digging through all those demos, and I found the Premature Autopsy Nihilist demo. And I found that in there, and I bought it immediately because I knew who it was. It's like, oh, this is pre-entombed. It's like, I have to have this. I bought it, and of course listened to it and everything. So years pass, and this is about the time that I was doing the Crimson Relic album, and Zan was staying at my house when I lived with Al, like years ago in Gardena, and he was friends with Orvar Sandstrom from Nirvana 2002, sang on the Crawl EP from Entomb. He was friends with him, and I guess Orvar had moved to Hollywood and was living there for like a couple of years. And he invited him over to my house, and Orvar came over, and he just asked me, he's like, hey, let me see your demos. And I said, okay, cool. And I pull out my demo case, and I bring out all my demos and start showing to him. And he pulls out the Premature Autopsy demo. And he's like, where did you get this? He's all, did you get this from the band? I'm like, no, I actually got that from Richard C. I got that at Wow Rags. And he's all, this is an original. I'm all, well, how the fuck would you know that? And he's all, because I remember when Nick A made the copies of all these covers, because the first like the early batches they had to do them on a specific paper, because he couldn't for some reason he couldn't get regular paper, so he had this weird ivory color paper that he just had to use because he didn't have any money to buy the other one, so he just printed everything on this kind of shitty like brownish paper.
I remember.
And he's all those are those are the first ones, like the first ones out. So he's all, probably he sent this demo to Richard C. as like, here to Richard C. to like, here, check out my band.
Yeah.
And so Richard C. threw it in the mailbox full of everybody else's fucking demos. And I ended up digging it out of there. So just out of strange coincidence.
Yeah, no, Nick Hay used to call the shop periodically when I worked there, and he would say, he was one of there was a lot of the underground heads that would send, not like in this day and age, you send like 50 tapes. Back then you'd send like 5, maybe if you're lucky 10, and you'd send the box to Richard C. so he could get rid of them at the shop, because that was the main place, and the Wild Rag fanzine was world renowned. And people don't understand, they're surprised when they hear these stories about actual real legit demos from the bands being sold at the shop.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, we all had our stuff with Richard at one point. The the Morgion Rabid Decay. I brought it to him to sell in the shop, and then he just asked to press it.
Yeah, to distill it or whatever. Yeah, he did that with you guys, Mind Rot, and of course, later on, Behemoth, Emperor. Oh
yeah, everybody more or less.
Classic list, man. Just the demos alone that he put out. It's just so cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Necrophobic Unholy Prophecies is still like one of my favorite demos of all time.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. So yeah, he was like, but in any case, kind of going off topic, but Jamie was kind of the one that kind of introduced me to this world of more than what I could get my hands on personally. Yeah. And so, I would borrow tapes, or I would just, I remember one time just, hanging out with him, and I brought a bunch of blank cassettes, and I would just sit there and pick a band and then pick a song and just record each song, so I could just sit down later on and just listen and go, what do I really want to hear more of? And so like, from Sacrifice to, you name it, there were so many bands, and also too, he was the one that introduced me to Power Metal magazine and Thrash Metal magazine. Those are also the other thing. And then they would have those sweepstake things where you can send in IRCs and, and fill out this thing to get like an album from somebody and or a demo or whatever. And, wrote in on it was for Thrash Metal magazine, and they had this ad for this San Francisco thrash band, and said, send this in and we'll send you their demo. And like a coupon or something to buy their debut album coming out in like 2 months or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be Violence, Eternal Nightmare. I remember that. And I sent in for that demo, and they sent me the Violence demo, and they sent me the Stone demo.
Oh, yeah.
That band Stone from Finland. And that was another one that I immediately loved, both of those bands immensely. And then, funnily enough, when Gravehill was on tour and we stayed at Scott from Cyanides, remember that, when we stayed in and that slept in that fucking cold ass basement, and he gave me his copy of that first Stone record on vinyl, because I've never seen the vinyl of that. He just, here, take it. It's fucking finished. It's weird. You can have it. I was like, holy shit. You're fucking weird if you like this, but fucking take it.
Yeah, no, that's fucking awesome. I mean, his fucking collection's insane, so it's not like he's gonna lose sleep over it,
Oh no, no.
The best music collections I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that was like, wow. So yeah, it took me back.
No, that's badass. So yeah, it's kind of funny. I'll throw the funny story of how you and I met. It has everything to do with this topic that we're talking about, and then we'll get into the biopsy thing. So, biopsy. Put the ad in the recycler. I don't know if these kids and youngsters know what the hell that is anymore. They might have a website, but it was that, obviously I'll explain it. It's the there was a newspaper that was free everywhere. and it had everything. So it's basically a printed version of Craigslist for the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, or a Facebook Marketplace, kind of the same idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and there was music, stuff related in there. They'd sell equipment, and every once in a while there was, hey, I want to form a band, and these are the influences or whatever. So I saw this biopsy ad, and it said influences: Autopsy, Paradise Lost. What? Nihilist. I was like, holy shit! All right, well, these fucking guys sound fucking brutal. So I called the number, and it was you, and that's how you and I got connected.
Yeah.
You said, well, you were looking for the bass player at the time. You said, no, we found a bass player, which ended up being Jeremy.
Yeah.
We found the bass player, but you know what? My friend Jamie, who you were just talking about, he's got a band called Invocation, and get a hold of him. Maybe you could play bass for them or whatever. And lo and behold, like later, Jerry Flores from Excruciating Terror, he was in Invocation with Jamie.
Yeah.
And, Jamie came over, we hung out, just basically talked music. And then I didn't end up joining that band. So I think they were jamming maybe at Jerry's house or something up in LA.
It's either Jerry's house or the drummer's house. His name's escaping me right now, but yeah.
And of course, we were young. I was young. I didn't have a car yet, so I was still in high school. And I was like, oh man, I can't. I can get down to Anaheim or Fullerton or something like that, but I can't get up to LA, unfortunately. So they went another direction or whatever. But in the meantime, go ahead and start with the whole biopsy thing and your original singer, and then we can get into the Mordon thing.
Well, the recycler ad, basically, I put an ad in the recycler looking for a bass player and a guitarist. And it's like I had, I was the drummer, obviously, and I had a guitarist, which was Mike Davis. And I basically was just trying to find people to start a band. Mike and I had been, we were mentioning that earlier. I met Mike Davis working at Taco Bell because Mike Davis worked at Taco Bell. And so when we both started talking, and we both realized that both of us were big metalheads, and he was totally into the underground just as much as me. We were both on the same wavelength, and found out that he was a guitarist. And then we started jamming in my little, bedroom band with my buddy Herman and him and Jamie. Jamie and I had, Jamie was in that bedroom band when we first started, and basically, just never went anywhere. And I think Mike and I were the only ones that were really motivated to want to really be in a band, like really do a band. And so I put out that ad in the recycler. I also put it out in Screamer magazine and BAM magazine, which were also kind of same idea. And I would get calls like all the time. Like every once in a while I get a call, and it started off with, I read, calling about your ad. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Bro, I'm really into fucking, Whitesnake and, whatever. It's say just, whatever. It's like, no, forget it. Nah, it's all good. Yeah. Enjoy. No, I'm done with you. And so it just kept getting calls like that. And it got to the point where everybody that called me, I'd go, do you listen to any of the bands I listed? Autopsy, Bolt Thrower, Paradise Lost, Morbid Angel. Do you listen to any of these fucking bands?
Wait a minute, bro, let me give you my Coverdale.
Yeah, I'm real fucking into Slayer and fucking that's like fuck, So finally, Jeremy had called me, and same thing. As I'm irritated, I'm like, do you listen to the fucking bands that I listed? He's like, dude, Autopsy is my favorite band. I'm like, oh, what?
There you go.
And so I'm like, what do you play? And so the entire time when I answered the phone, he's like, yeah, I'm calling about your ad. Do you play drums? Like me, do you play drums? And I'm like, wait. Do you listen to the fucking bands I listed in the thing? And he's like, yeah, dude, Autopsy is my favorite band. Are you a fucking drummer? I'm like, yes, I'm a drummer and I have a guitarist. And he's like, well, I have a guitarist and a singer. And I'm like, okay. And so we started talking, and again, just clicked. We all were on the same wavelength in every possible way. We're into all the same bands. We're all totally on board. So I told him, we should get together and rehearse, let's try to write some songs. And he said, hey, that's cool. I'm down in Anaheim. And at the time, Mike and I lived in IE. I lived in Altaloma, Mike and I both live in Altaloma. So for the people that are not aware of where that is, it's fucking nowhere near Los Angeles. And so, yeah, so I'm out in the boonies. And basically I said, yeah, I can come to Anaheim, whatever. You can come to me. It doesn't matter. And he says, yeah, well, the first thing, dude, I got to apologize, but, you're going to have to talk to our singer. He's a bit older, because, we asked each other, how old are you, whatever. At the time I was 18. No, I was 17. At the time I was 17. Well, I'm 17. I'm going to be 18 in like 3-4 months. And then he's like 3 months, whatever. He's, well, I'm 18 and Dwayne's 19. And I said, oh, okay, well, Mike's 18, going to be 19. And he's like, yeah, well, we have this singer. And he's all, well, I'm going to apologize. He's kind of a fucking wise ass. That was the first thing he said. He's kind of a fucking wise ass. I'm like, well, okay, whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's from Florida. So, I mean, keep in mind, 17-year-old kid and impressionable of, all these fucking cool bands from Florida, fucking Morbid Angel and, so it's kind of like Nocturnus, so, kind of really, so does he know any of those bands? And he says, yeah, he knows the guys in Obituary and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, he's like 26. So he's significantly older than us.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah. So he's all, you're going to have to talk to him too. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I talked to this guy, and he's a fucking cartoon character from like the first fucking minute of talking to this guy. He's just fucking weird. And he's telling me all these crazy stories, of being in Florida and whatever. And, asking me about, what I play and what we're doing. Is like getting information about me or whatever. So, it's like, hey, we're getting to know each other. I tell him what's going on. And, we should get together. So we work out this thing, and I say, hey, since I have the drums and, we have some gear at my house, I can borrow some stuff from friends, just bring your amp, whatever you can, and we'll just jam in my living room. My at the time, it's like my parents used to go away for the weekend a lot. So like, I could do a full rehearsal in my living room if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. So I said, yeah, just come to my house. It's free. Yeah, it's a drive, but, come up. And so they drove up. And I gave them my address, and they're asking me for directions. They're asking this 17-year-old kid who's never driven himself from fucking Altaloma to Anaheim and Anaheim back to get to my house. Like to bring back our age right now, I looked at a Thomas guide to see how, you know what I'm saying? To see how to, and I tell him, this is what it looks like you're supposed to do. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I told him how to get to the house. And of course, whatever I did didn't work out. They got lost. They finally showed up at my house. It took them like 2.5 hours to get to my house. Went after when they were supposed to be there. And they come pulling in, and we come outside. Now, keep in mind, we have never met each other in person, like at all. And so we walk outside, and this singer, his name is Dan Skinner, by the way. Dan Skinner, like, immediately starts fucking just busting my balls, like immediately starts talking shit and yelling at me like I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know where I live and this other shit, And it's like, yeah, great first impression, It's what the, he talked like this, yeah, what the fuck, talk just like that. And I was just like, and then Jeremy and Dwayne are in the background, and they're both just kind of shaking their heads. And Dwayne's, hey, I'm Dwayne. Hey, what's up? I'm Rhett. This is Mike. Hey, I'm Jeremy. Everybody else was very cordial. And so we go downstairs and we set up, and the entire time Dan has this fucking poo-poo face. Like he's just like he's smelling shit, He's just standing there all just all fucking mad, and looking at us like, like the, you better impress me type thing, So we don't know what we're doing. We've never played together. We have no clue. We're teenagers. We get together and we just start playing whatever. We're not playing anything, I'm just playing a beat. They're playing fucking, it was just fucking noise. And he stands there and he just lights up. And his eyes get super big, and he's like, fuck yeah! He's like so stoked, and we weren't doing anything, And so, Jeremy's like standing there, and he's like looking like calm down, we're all just like, come on, dude. So after, spending that time together, and, Dwayne's like, I have a riff, and Mike's like, I have a riff. And then we start, putting ideas together, and then slowly but surely we are actually writing a song. So what I come to find out is that they live in Anaheim. me and Mike live in Altaloma, and Dan Skinner lives just like somewhere in fucking downtown LA, like somewhere, you know, and the fucking asshole doesn't have a car, and he's 26 years old. Okay. Doesn't have a car. I'm 17 and I had a car. Okay.
Yeah.
And this dude, you know, so he had his girlfriend bring him there, right? Drive, you know, basically fucking chauffeuring his ass there. And so when we got together after that, like Jeremy and Dwayne are like, hey, we know these rent by hour places in Anaheim. We can go down there and rehearse. You know, everybody's got to pitch in like $8 or whatever it was to rehearse. And like, okay, fine, we'll do that. So Mike and I would jump in one of our vehicles, and either his or mine, and we'd take our gear and go down there. And that's how we started, was just practicing down there. But Dan wasn't a part of a lot of those practices because he lived in LA and he relied on his girlfriend to drive him. Of course, none of us are going to fucking pick him up. So we're like, you know, so we're, you know, starting to write the songs of the band as just the four of us. So he really wasn't really part of it. But any time that he did come around for the, I think after we started writing a couple songs, he shows up with his girlfriend. And at the time I took my buddy Herman with us, and Herman just came to hang out. You know, he wasn't there for any other reason than just to hang out with me and Mike. You know, he's just a buddy of ours. And so Dan sees him and immediately he's like, who the fuck is that dude? What the fuck's he doing here? You know, is he a fucking singer? Like totally like we're replacing him, you know? And it's like, you know, we're just like, dude, you know, he's just my buddy. He's coming to hang out. That's all he's here for, you know? And so we did that practice. And then after that, me and Jeremy just started talking, and we're just like, dude, you know, this would be like a whole lot more fun if we just fucking got rid of that guy, you know? And so, you know, we kept practicing or whatever, and it wasn't long. It was a couple months. Yeah. And Dan had some job that he did where he fucking worked for a leasing agent that would like rent out apartments or something. And he tried to help me get a job with him, and I like did it for like a couple days and said, fuck that. And that's when like that time when that's when it was kind of the last straw with him, is that he started telling us these fucking stories. Like shit that only like kids in like fucking elementary school and junior high kind of tell, these tall tales that really just don't, you know. So Dan was like Dan's thing. He would sit there and talk about these fucking stories, and it was always about like how fucking badass he is and how he kicks everyone's ass and he fucks every chick he ever meets, and like, you know, all this like really fucking idiotic shit. Like we're all supposed to, oh yeah, okay, sure, whatever, dude. You know, like, you know, and it was always so fucking asinine. The stories were just fucking ridiculous. And just for the show, just to amuse anyone that wants to hear, I'll tell you one of the stories that is literally one of the most fucking ridiculous things I've ever heard. So he said that one time when he was in Florida that he was driving on the highway, and as he was driving, he had these two chicks with him, which he was fucking, by the way. Had to make sure that everyone knew this, right? And as he's driving on the highway, he gets in some accident, and he explains how the car like flips over 75 times and fucking, you know, flies into 10 other cars, and then, you know, it explodes into fire, and then, you know, a meteor hits it, like all this ridiculous shit, like that this car just, you know. And so after this massive, you know, wreck, he says that he climbs out of the car and says that, you know, he's got a broken arm, broken leg, broken neck, broken spleen. He's bleeding eternally. And one of his eyes are falling out. Like all this ridiculous, overly exaggerated, like, you know, he's just he's a fucking zombie, you know? And he says he climbs out of the car, and then he picks up the two girls and he puts them on both of his shoulders and carries them up an inner pass. And then when he gets to the top of the inner pass, keep in mind, you know, he's supposed to be like broken legs, broken back, broken everything, with these two girls on his shoulders carrying them up a fucking hill. When he gets to the top, this trucker pulls up and says, "Hey, are you okay?" And that made him mad, so Dan kicked his ass. That's a Dan Skinner story, okay? I'm 17 and he's 26. Just keep all that in mind, right? So after that whole debacle and just everything, Jeremy and I just decided that, you know, it's like, yeah, nah.
You kicked that guy out? He was like the tweaker fucking Florida man James Bond, dude. What's wrong with you guys?
Dude. I mean, there's just so many of these stories I can tell. I can tell right now that are just so fucking hilarious that, like, it just like, yeah, we're gonna take up way too much time talking about that. So,
Too much
but
time wasted on Dan fucking Skid Row.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember, like, he happened to be around where Jeremy was at in Anaheim, and me and Bart ran into him, and I don't know. I think Jeremy was giving him some shit back after you guys kicked him out of the band, some personal stuff or something. And
oh, really?
Jeremy was totally annoyed, like, "Oh, dude, just leave." And Dan was trying to talk to me and Bart. Bart, of course, was about 2 seconds away from annihilating the guy because he was already super annoyed. And
yeah.
that guy left. I was like, "Who the fuck was that?" "Oh, that's their old singer." "Oh, fucking shit, man! Holy shit!"
Yeah, he just did this thing. I just remember, like, with him, like, anytime he would try to do vocals, he's like trying really hard to copy John Tardy. Like, yeah, he did that shit. And it was funny is, like, we always laugh because, like, when he's trying to talk to you, so people, hey, dude, dude, like that. He would say it like this. He would go, dude, like that all the time. It was always just like I said, he was a fucking cartoon character. So
fucking idiot.
So yeah, so basically we eventually just had to kick him out. So we did, and then Jeremy's like, "Well, I can sing," and so I'm like, "Okay, cool. This will make it easier since the four of us have been writing these fucking songs the entire time."
Yeah.
So and once we did that, then it's like we officially. Then that's the other thing too. As I said, I don't want to call this band Biopsy because, like, one of our biggest influences is Autopsy. It just does. I said, come on, we can do better than that.
Yeah.
So me being the fucking Dungeons and Dragons nerd, I was like, hey, let's call the band Morgion because I explained it's a god of death and decay. I thought it was fucking really cool.
There we go.
And then that cover too is also funny because I had the intention of this. I had the specific cover in mind, and of course none of us could draw, and I didn't know anybody that could draw. There was also that, so we I think it was either Dwayne or Jeremy. One of those two found this. They got a picture, I think, from Fangoria. That's what they call the Ethiopian zombie, and the remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. Yep.
Yeah, and he basically took it, and I think he just did he just rendered it differently. He did something with a fucking with a photocopier or whatever. I have no idea, and that's how that came to be. And Dwayne actually drew that first logo. That's all Dwayne. So he put that together, and
love that logo.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, I mean, this is cool. I mean, me wanting, like, this fucking dark robed figure with a crown sitting on a throne of bodies was what originally. So when Dark Descent re-released it, I had Mark Riddick do that cover. So when it was re-released, that was more or less the cover I intended, at the time.
Idea, basically.
Yeah, the original idea that I had no talent or any connection to make happen. So
yeah, back then it was almost impossible to find artists, man. It was like, you had to cut up Fangorias or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Just hodgepodge shit together slowly but surely.
Spending lots of time at Kinko's.
Man. That's why you ended up working there and shit.
Yeah, then I ended up working there. Yeah, God forbid.
Yeah, it's funny. I ran across some cool pictures and just kind of going through some old stuff. There's Skinny Me with my Agoraphobia long sleeve, and there's my buddy Lee. You remember Lee?
Yeah, with the that's a Dino Morgion shirt, isn't it? Or Unleashed
long sleeve right there. Yeah, you can't see the front. Dino Samisi drew the image, and the old logo on there. There we are in Bart's room. You can see all the in the background, of course.
Of course.
And this was interesting too. I'm not really sure where that was.
Oh, that's Spanky's.
Is that Spanky's?
So that's Spanky's.
Entombed?
It's either. It could be Entombed. It could be the first show we played with. Our very first show was at Spanky's, and that was Morgion, Mind Rot, Phobia, Death Shit, and Sadistic Intent. So that could be that show too. That also could be Grave too. That could also be Grave and Massacre.
Yeah, because you guys played that Spanky show too.
Yeah. So that could be, we've played Spanky's a few times back in the day. Then eventually Spanky's became, Corona Showcase.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think me and Bart and Lee and John Lee and everybody, we were at pretty much every Morgion show that you guys played there.
It was a
But I
rad
wasn't sure
place.
about this. Yeah, no, Spanky's ruled.
And of course, it always smelled like pizza.
It always
You
smelled
know,
like pizza, and I just remember
of,
when Dorguts played, I know Luke was like, "Oh, you never played a sandwich shop before. This is interesting." I was cracking up. I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I mean, that is interesting." Was this this picture was pretty cool?
Oh yeah, the Anaheim. It's an Anaheim. Yeah, it's an Anaheim cemetery.
I was going to ask, is that Fairhaven and Santa Ana? But I guess it's Anaheim.
It's either Anaheim or Santa Ana. You could be right. It could be Santa Ana. It's like right on the border. It has to be because it's right off the 57. It's like right next to it. Jeremy found the place. I remember he found it. And the thing that we liked about it is the very front of it. Like when you go in, if you go inside, there's this really huge killer wooden door. And we used that photo of us in front of that door, like in the early days. That was like one of our early photos. And this was like right after Mike Davis had quit for like the 16th time or whatever. And and yeah, we were just like, fuck it, we're just gonna be a 3-piece. And then Dan Kaufman in that period of time too filled in on guitar with us for a while too.
Yeah, I saw the La Puente backyard that John Lee helped set up.
Yeah, you guys yeah.
Again, and
that was fun. That was a fun show.
Yeah, no, that was great, man. You guys awesome.
And fucking Shane like took his fucking pants off and threw it in the bushes, and he's just like walking around, his fucking dick swinging, just drinking beers and talking to people.
That's fucking This is the Extinction of God comp #1 at the Morjon layout that we did for you guys.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
And of course, Bart had to throw tits in there on the top left.
Well, you know, if anything, Bart is definitely reliable for tits. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, the if you look on the bottom, you see me and Dwayne on the very bottom there. That's in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when we played Guadalajara.
Yeah, you're headbanging like a motherfucker back there. That's a great picture.
Yeah, that was a show. That was like, I think, that's Jeremy up there with the logo above us. That's the same show.
Right?
Yeah, that was wild. That show was fucking wild. That was like the first time that we ever played a show with like a crowd that was really happy that we were there. So, you know, dude, they went bananas. And then there was a fucking 100 people outside that couldn't pay to get in too. It was really cool. That was you know, and then the opening bands and stuff, and just seeing like the whole scene together in that period of time, and it was definitely like, you know, times just felt so different back then. So
yeah, for
but
sure.
Probably just because we were young and we didn't know any better. But yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. Those are some old school photos that I found that were pretty cool. So let's see. So the demo got going, obviously, and then you guys, I mean, that demo got pretty much everywhere. And I remember at one point, you know, 90, 91 after it came out, I know Jeremy was hanging out with us over at Bart's, and he just was one of those party sessions, you know, it was like a Friday night or something, and he happened to have the tape. And, we hadn't heard it yet. And he kind of just slipped it into the tape player in between, you know, songs. He kind of slid over there.
Yeah.
And, which was always unheard of. You don't fucking touch Bart's fucking tape player. You know, he just like, smacking you and shit. But, Jeremy, he snuck the demo in there, and then all of a sudden everyone's all like, "Oh fuck, what's this?" You know, because that creepy intro starts.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and then that first "I the Skeptic" fucking kicks off, and it's like, holy shit! And Jeremy's over there grinning. We're all, "Fuck, this is fucking awesome!" Really start headbanging and shit, and then, "What is this?" And Jeremy's, "Oh, this is my band. Oh, this is the band. Oh, okay." So that started the whole Morjon thing, and that's when we met the rest of you guys and stuff.
Yeah,
we had known Jeremy through, you know, the Anaheim metalhead, you know, channels or whatever. He went to Loera. He went to him and Dwayne went to high school.
Yeah,
Bart and I were always, and Robert from, you know, Nero One and the old singer Ruin. We were always fucking riding our bikes everywhere, getting into trouble, and we always went to, Mike Munn is a friend of ours that went to Loera with Jeremy, and he's the one that introduced us. So we knew about Jeremy for a few years.
And of course, they went to they were there at the same time as No Doubt, which Gwen Stefani and her brother and stuff were all in, you know, they were in that same era of time.
Well, I know
So
Mindrod and Morjon used to practice at Stomp Box, just like the old Ruin lineup did, and No Doubt was right next door to us a lot of times around
yeah.
the same time. So they were at Stomp Box in Anaheim too.
Well, you remember that the Rabid Decay demo was recorded at the same studio where they recorded their first album, Beacon Street. That's where we recorded with the same guy. Jim Dotson was his name.
Yeah, Jim Dotson.
Yeah, and then Matt Fisher shows up and helps us mix.
Matty
and
F.
Yeah, Matty F helped us mix, and I remember that was entertaining too. And Dan, yeah, there's I need to dig out those photos. There's photos of us with him, and Dan Kaufman was there. My buddy, Jamie, we were talking about, and Herman, and all of us, and just a lot of us all hanging out. John Lee, I think too, and yeah, that was, and but Jim Dotson was our first studio experience, and when you walked in, there was just nothing but 8x10 photos of No Doubt, and I just remember seeing them on the cover of BAM magazine and Screamer and shit like that, and I had no fucking concept of what the hell they were, so I just knew that the other guys were like, oh yeah, they're this big local band or whatever, and then little did we know that
They just fucking blew up to international, universal success and shit. And
yeah, but it is kind of funny that even you, when I remember going to see you guys with Gas practicing, and Real Big Fish were practicing two doors down from you guys. They were just like, what the fuck? I remember that at that time too.
Milano Music we used to jam at, and Vince Milano was the manager. He was cool, but he used to manage Real Big Fish, so it's like, I remember I was trying to book Gas practice one day. And he's like, oh, no, dude, the Real Big Fish guys are here. We're going to film it. Shut the fuck up, Vince. Give me a goddamn room. I don't give a shit. We're not going to mess with that band. They're horrible anyways, man.
That place is long gone, too, right? It's that's not,
he shut it down years ago or whatever. But, that was a pretty cool studio, too. There's a lot of good memories over there or whatever. But so, actually, kind of moving on to the next thing, which has to do with studios. So at some point, Sureguard became a spot where every band, all the good heavy death bands, and County ended up getting rooms or whatnot. So
the whole OC scene, the whole OC scene was there.
That came about from what you remember about that.
I remember that actually, just to segue to that, the jam room that we had before Sureguard, we shared with Mindrot at this place called In Red Studios. But the guy that ran it, you remember him very well, Mike Buckner, that we call Mike Fuckner. Fuckner basically had the bunch of those rooms that you could pull up to drive in, and we were practicing this room as Morgion and Mindrot, and right across from us was fucking Leatherwolf. Right across, and I guess they changed their name to Hail Mary or something at the time, and they would practice with their door open. And I remember every time they would come into practice, they're all riding in on their Harleys and shit. I remember us just another world to us, but anyway, we were in that room first, and how we got to that room is we were practicing at DC Sparks, and Mindrot were there at the same time this one particular night, and Matt Fisher came in and was talking to us, and hey, we want to see if you guys would split a lockout with us. And of course, I'm 18 years old going, what the fuck is a lockout? And he's like, we have a room that we can leave our shit set up and come in and practice whenever the fuck we want, 24 hours, and we pay monthly rent for. I'm like, that sounds great. And so he basically talked us into moving into the room with them, and they had that room with Mike Fuckner. And then we were there for a while, and then something happened where Fisher came to us, and I guess he had discovered Sureguard, which basically Sureguard is a storage place. It literally had 90% of the people, probably 98% of the people that were in this place were just storing shit there. And then for some reason, one of these back rooms, it was one of these corner, it was a really big room, and this corner room that some band had been practicing there for years. They built fucking a stage with drum risers. The room was massive, and so if we could pay the same amount of money and move into that place, which was 24 hours, it had security, and we had this massive room that we could share. So I mean, we had like 4 or 5 couches in there, and had like they brought in this other dude that I guess he took like fucking nudie pictures or some shit, and he had this fucking bed that he had in there with like this little backdrop and this other stuff. And we basically moved into that place because it was rad. It was really cool. It was like you're practicing every night on a stage, kind of what it felt like. Yeah. And we all, hanging out there all the time. It was always like a really cool place. And, just to be, we were there for a few years. And I also remember that Mouse from Mind Rot also like lived in the room for like a couple days a week, and he'd sleep on that bed. And that dude that was paying, to have the bed there to do his photography or whatever, was pissed off because Matt was pretty, he wasn't exactly very clean in that period of time. And yeah, and he basically, I guess he was fucking ruining the bed, so that kind of, I remember just for some reason that just came to mind. But yeah, that Sureguard. So basically we were there, and I think it just kind of opened the door. Like so many other bands could be there too. So Phobia moved in, and then that's when we met Carcinogen. They were in there. Yeah. And they had like their own room was really cool too. It was like 2 like of those 30-foot rooms side by side that they just removed the wall in between. So it was like the 60 by 60 room, and they built a stage and the whole thing. And you remember that time Dino had, I don't know how he got a hold of it, but some dude that was practicing in there, I don't know how this worked out, but he had the fucking drummer from Striper's drum kit. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like there was like this fucking huge Striper drum set. And where the fuck did this come from? and then yeah, basically, they were practicing there, and then then the Confrontation was in there, and Scab, Dust Shit. Dust Shit was in there. Yeah, Dust Shit was in there. Phobia.
Jammed around in some of the rooms at some point.
Yeah.
We got going. Yeah. Early Gas. Yeah. We actually jammed.
Yeah.
And, I think it was Phobia's room. So.
Yeah, Dystopia,
Dystopia started over there in that.
Started in the Carcinogen room. Yeah. So it was like, that was the, that's kind of like everyone just like, Fisher found this fucking place, and the next thing you know, just everyone just kind of congregated there. And the next thing you know, we're all hanging out together all the time. Everyone had, it was a fucking rad place.
It was almost like 7 days a week. You can go to a band practice there,
Yeah, pretty much. You could catch somebody's there. Yeah, right. Somebody's there rehearsing. So that was kind of that. I think that's the other thing too, is like, you and I've talked about it in the past, where there was always this camaraderie with the Orange County scene, because, we all jammed in the same places together. We played a lot of shows together. We all, there was this, it was a very very punk rock community kind of thing in that period of time. Well, which we always felt like, just witnessing a lot of the LA bands, everything was always such a competition amongst all of them. They all were not loyal or friendly with one another, really. It was just kind of like a, solo thing. Everybody's in it for themselves type thing. While we were all just like, we were a fucking hippie commune practically. So
yeah, just helping each other out and fucking trying to get better, and a friendly competition on, oh shit, we're fucking sounded good today, man. We got to up our game, So, and
then, also we'd introduce each other to, new people to record with. Yeah. So when, Jim Barnes came into the picture, and then, as Mind Rot had found the guys found Jim Barnes. And then we were like, oh, and talking to him, he seemed to be far more on the level. At least he kind of understood where we were coming from. Right. And then, went from there. But that's how Sureguard started.
No, that's killer, man. That I don't know. Real quick too, I found this online. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but this is a classic. Okay. So this is the classic Autopsy show, and this is the original flyer that James Hernandez made from IRE Screams. Because I don't know if you've seen that fake flyer that's floating around that has the Dismember logo on it.
Yeah,
and that's cool and everything. I mean, I know someone made that. It's got the Mental Funeral background or whatever, but this is the actual legit, because a lot of people don't know. Unfortunately, he didn't put you guys on here. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, fucking jerk.
Yeah, you guys opened the show. Morjon did, so
we also supplied the back line for some of the bands too.
Yeah, right. So what ended up happening was, for some reason, Incantation dropped off,
Yeah, they like left the tour like midway through or something. Yeah.
Go back home for something. We didn't know
Yeah.
why, so we were kind of bummed out. But Dismember was on tour with Vader and Suffocation across town, so they did their set that night first. When they were done, they shot over down to Chinatown to the Hong Kong because they're huge Autopsy worshippers, right? So next thing you know, these fucking Swedes are hanging out, and obviously, they connect with you guys or whatever. And then there's this chatter, like, well, if we could use the equipment, we'll do some Carnage songs, because a lot of the Carnage and Dismember stuff pretty much carries over. I don't even know. Did they even put out Dark Recollections yet? Maybe they did, but
no. Dark Recollections has been out. Yeah, that's
This was like 92, 91, 92, maybe.
Yeah, maybe even almost 93, 92, 93. Because the one thing I will correct you on that is that actually Dismember were on tour with Suffocation. Yeah. But for some reason that night they had an off night. They weren't playing because Dismember were just there. Like when we arrived, they were already there. They're like wandering around Chinatown. So we're looking at distance, we're like, is that fucking Dismember over there? Like all five of them are walking, and then you see, Dave Bloomkist with his fucking Suicidal Tendencies hat and shit, with his blue rag and the whole thing. And I was like, wow, okay. And then, they just like they're wandering around because I guess there's an opportunity for them to see Autopsy, and then they just came in, and then what's his name? Like basically just fucking gave say, hey, you guys want to play? And they just he kind of forced them on the whole thing, which honestly it was fucking rad because everybody got to see Dismember, but it was definitely not. It was like literally a spur of the moment thing happened right then and there. And but we opened the show and everybody was super cool, but again, we're the local band that played first, and then the Morgue guys played after us, and you got to meet all the bands, and that was the first time that I ever saw like a panda face black metal band in person, seeing Vital Remains, them drinking the Kool-Aid and the whole thing. And that was entertaining. And I also remember too, that was like the first show I ever played where there was like an endless supply of beer. I remember thinking at the time, like, it's like, oh my God, there's like, I could just take as much beer as I want and drink it, And so there was that too. So, me and Pink Metal were like, I took him to the show, and me and him were just grabbing Budweisers. And of course Shane was there, and he wasn't on the show, but he was drinking all the band's beer. So I remember that too. And he's just, going for it, it's like, but that show, Autopsy were fucking incredible. That was a fucking fun show. It was a really fun show.
All time.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, that back when Freeway was on bass, like before Shit Fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they always had bass player issues. It was like Steve Cooper, and I know the Josh Baron from Suffocation at one point.
And Ken Savari.
Steve Giorgio played on Severed.
Yeah, he played on Fiend for Blood too.
Yeah, that's right. I ran across this real quick. Now we are jumping even further ahead a little bit, but we can be here all day talking more, John. So,
oh boy, yeah, CBGB. Yeah,
rest in peace, Brandon.
Dude, that was literally one of the most fucking hungover moments of my entire life. Is that fucking picture? Like, I'm just looking at myself right there, and I was like, I'm so fucking hungover in that picture.
Fucking party hardy the night before, huh?
Dude, I did some shit that I'm definitely not proud of. That's all I can say. I was a fucking goddamn maniac that night before. This was the night after March Metal Meltdown in New Jersey.
Okay.
We were there for the March Metal Meltdown, and this was the Sunday after. And basically, we showed up on that Friday. Morgion played on Saturday, and then the show was done. And then we got on this show, like almost the same thing as a Dismember story. Like I got it on at the last minute. It was us, Disassociate, the Murder Junkies.
Oh wow.
Fucking Dystopia. That was why we went, because we were like, it's gonna be fucking rad. We're gonna walk right up, and Dino and Mouse and Todd are gonna see us and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? Like we just like peered out of nowhere. So that was really fun to walk up and see the expression on their face when they were just going, thinking they lost their mind. Like, why the fuck are we here? So that was, we were in New Jersey that weekend, but that's Friday and Saturday. And then we went to play that show. Honestly, I have to say the one biggest memory or two biggest memories I remember of that show is, one, we walked into the show, and when the show was done, we walked out, it was snowing.
Fuck.
So that was crazy. So we're having a snowball fight. So that was cool. The second thing I remember is that fucking Vern, that's Gigi's brother, right?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Merle.
Yeah. That guy was climbing off stage in front of me with nothing but butt huggers on. And they were just like fucking saturated with sweat. And just the smell. And I just remember standing there going, what the fuck? Like, fucking gnarly. But I have to say that of all the live grindcore bands I've ever seen, Disassociate is in the top two. That band is one of the most incredible grindcore bands I've ever seen in my life, other than Assuck.
Yeah.
So just to say,
for sure.
But holy shit, Disassociate were fucking amazing. So we got on the gig. Yeah, we got on the gig, but they made us play last. So we played after Disassociate, which was fucking sad as fuck. And then, and of course, we play sad as fuck music. So there's that too.
Yeah, right.
And I think the thing that bummed me out the most of that show was not just the fact that we played for a quarter of the audience and that, we were just like, I had to play on my old drum set that I sold to Dino that was just a fucking tattered mess. And, so there was that, and I'm just like, okay. But it was the fact that, we're there with Relapse and they're just fucking giving us fucking free alcohol. And I was so hungover that I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't party anymore. I was just so fucking hungover. I literally drank everything under the sun that night before. And I fucking vomited all over myself too. I woke up with Jeremy like pushing me over so I wouldn't choke on my own vomit. Ugh. So actually, I would have been dead if he didn't. So there's that. Jeremy saved my life that night before. So there's that. So
there we go. Way to go, Jeremy.
Yeah. That was that whole festival was just fucking crazy, man. It's just like the entire hotel was just bands. It's like there's like floors and floors of just a bunch of bands and everyone just getting fucking shitty the whole time and just going from room to room and partying with that. But I was, just like I'm drunk and I just run into Danny Lilliker, which I've never met. I've never like really sat down and talked to him at that point. And I was just so wasted and I'm just like, fuck, I'm sitting here talking to Danny Lilliker. Holy shit,
Yeah.
And
for years.
Yeah, dude, and it's like I met like Peter Tangren, however you say his last name, from Hypocrisy, and just like running into just random people, and then other people from the scene that I don't ordinarily see, like heads from San Francisco that I've seen on occasion, and just it was really cool, and hanging out backstage with the guys from Enslaved, and man. Just I was seeing, I met the guys from Amorphous and like there was just a lot of really cool people that we got to meet in that weekend, and it was really fucking cold too. It was like February, it was March, like early March, and it was right on the water. In the venue that's the other funny story about that place too is the venue that they used is the fucking rehearsal room for Bruce Springsteen. That was the other thing. It was this venue was his fucking jam room. Seriously. And we flew in like the Friday morning. We got in, we had a red eye, and we got in, I think at like 6 a.m, and they took us to the hotel and they wouldn't let us check in. So we were just kind of wandering around the hotel. And I said, hey, let's just go take a look at the venue. Let's just go see where we're playing. So yeah, cool. So we go walking over there, and the hotel's right across the street, and it's in this Ashbury Park, New Jersey, which is basically an abandoned town. It's like a ghost town. It was fucking weird. And we go walking over to the venue, and there are all these fucking security guys standing in front, a bunch of cars parked in front and vans and whatnot. And we come walking up, and the security guard's like, hey, you guys can't come in here right now. Yeah. And we're like, well, why not? We're playing here tonight. We just want to see the venue. He's like, no, you guys can't come in right now. The boss is in there.
The boss is in there.
He says the boss is in there. And I'm looking at him, and it took me like a minute. And then I look at him, I was like, wait. the boss as in Bruce Springsteen, the boss. And he looks at me and he goes, like this total like response, like I'm a fucking idiot. He just, yeah, like that. I was like, who in their right mind would ever think that would ever be an occurrence that would ever happen to them ever? Is that, like I'm supposed to know this. Yeah, this is his fucking jam room, you fucking dumbass. Like, how the fuck would I know that? So that was, and there's like all these really nice cars, like Rolls Royces and a Porsche and fucking, all this really nice shit like parked and inside the venue, like in this, like, cause it's like this huge, like you could drive a car into it. Basically. It was like the place was so big, you could land a jumbo jet in there. And basically they were building a stage around Bruce Springs and his entourage of bitchin' cars that were all, around the relapse stage or whatever. So, I also got to meet like the guys from Sepultura and Mortician. And that was the very first time I met Will Wammer, the very first time. Nice. So, and of course he looked like he wanted to beat me up. So there was that too.
Yeah, he always looks like that. No, Will rules, man. And even the Sepultura guys were always super cool.
Yeah, they were really cool. It was
one of the coolest things about shit like that is like meeting some of these other musicians from all over the world and shit. And a lot of them end up being super cool.
Plus, they're like massive fucking rock stars, and I'm fucking, I'm more or less a fucking absolute nobody. So it was kind of like, hey, so you're playing here tomorrow? Yeah. What time? 2:45. Whatever. Hey,
You guys fucking played though. You guys played, so that's all that matters. So we could fucking be here all fucking night talking about the classic shows and shit. I know that we've been over Grave Massacre. You guys opened for Entombed and Unleashed. A lot of the killer fucking classic local shows too, because obviously people look at flyers and they say, Demolition, Mind Rot, Carcinogen. It's like, More John was on a lot of those shows too. And but so how did the relapse thing come about at that point? I know that you guys were talking to some labels at a certain point, and then obviously Among Majestic Ruin, that was out Relapse. You guys did that with Jim Barnes at the time. Kind of take us back to that era.
Okay, so Among Majestic Ruin, basically at the time, when you were showing those photos earlier where we're a 3-piece and we're in the graveyard, literally some months just after that, we were introduced to a guy named Bob Thomas who wanted to play guitar for Morgion. And we knew him through like mutual people. Actually, he had some connection somewhere where Pink Metal was involved in some way, and he basically came in and said, "Yeah, I've seen you guys live a bunch of times. I want to play with you guys." So we worked something out for him to come and rehearse with us. He came in and knew our songs fucking perfectly. He could play his solos. Like it was literally like it took no time to get him into the band. And at the same time, I was doing this side project with Pink Metal, where we were like, I really wanted to have keyboards in a band, and we were doing. I mean, at the time, anytime anyone discussed keyboards and death metal, the first thought was Nocturnus, but that's not what we just wanted to do our own thing. And so I was introduced to this guy named Ed Parker, and he came into he was jamming with Pink Metal in this other band. Also, you know what? Since you know who I'm talking about, when anybody watching this doesn't know what the fuck I'm saying, Pink Metal is a person. It's a nickname. Okay, his name is Justin, but we called him Pink Metal. Okay, so just so now everybody's on the same page.
Inside
joke, but his name was Pink Metal. So anyway, Pink Metal and I had this side band. Pink played bass, and he had this friend Ed, and he was doing like this rock band with him. And Ed was a guitarist, but also Ed was a classically trained pianist. He could fucking play. And so one day, just hanging out because I would hang out with them all the time, and I wanted to put this side project together. He said, "Oh, Ed plays keyboards," and he has a keyboard. Little did I know that the keyboard's basically like a fucking $120 Casio keyboard, where all the different buttons on it were multiple colors, like fluorescent green, fluorescent pink, fluorescent yellow. So anyway, we started jamming with him and doing these songs. And one day I had a rehearsal with that band before the Morgion guys showed up. And as we were practicing, they came in and sat there. And then I could see that Jeremy's fucking, you know, something's turning up here. He's sitting there looking at him and looking at us and playing, you know, so he's concocting something. And then he just afterwards, when they left, he's like, we should have that dude play with us. And I'm like, well, I'm cool with that, but you know, you were the one that didn't want to have keyboards in the band. He's like, no. You know, I changed my mind, basically. Okay. So we brought Ed into the band with, now we have this new guitarist, Bob Thomas, and we started in introducing Ed to our demo, you know, the songs we're playing at the time. And he started adding keyboards to some stuff. And then we just immediately started writing new material. And then Ed was a huge factor in how we wrote all that stuff, because the keyboards brought this depth that we weren't, we never had before. We weren't prepared for. So all of a sudden it just, you know, I think the other thing too is at that period of time, we were really, really, really more interested in playing doom than playing death metal. It was like more of the, you know, when My Dying Bride was really a big thing in that period of time, and hearing Anathema and the Amorphous Tales from a Thousand Lakes. That's another huge fucking changer for music for us. And we basically were like, you know, once we got him in and started writing songs, we were like, I just want to play like Candlemass with fucking keyboard player. So that's kind of how that kind of came to be. Is like I always said in that period of time that we're a death metal band trying to be a doom band. That was more or less what we were doing. So there were a lot of bands in that period of time, Gathering, and you know, they were all basically death metal bands trying to kind of branch away from death metal, or at least expand upon it. So so basically we decided that we were going to record this, we were going to record another demo. And we had 5 songs. We were going to do the 4 songs for the demo, and 1 song is the split 7-inch with Divine Eve. And that was like, I think we were more interested in doing the split with Divine Eve than anything, because all of us were, me and Jeremy were massive fans of that band and really wanted to do that. And, you know, Zan was very, you know, he was very into it too. You know, he really liked our band and he really wanted to do it. So it just kind of that ball started rolling there. So we wrote a song specifically just for a split. It wasn't intended for the album. So or an album or a demo, wasn't intended for anything other than a split. So that whole thing fell apart. So we were just giving our friends and stuff copies of all 5 of those songs, but they weren't intended to be that recording. And so what happened is Matt Fisher, again, you know, more credit to Matt. Matty F. We gave him a copy of it, and he loved it. And he basically shopped it to Relapse for us, because they got a deal with Relapse. He said, you need to check out these guys. And he gave them our shit. And, you know, Matt Jacobson really dug it, and he hit us up. And then they were like, well, this is what we're intending this for. But that split was never fucking happening. So eventually they just released it as a full release. So, there's Bob Thomas right there.
Boom.
Jeremy, Bob Thomas, me and Dwayne. And then basically, we recorded that. We recorded all that as an intention for something else. And then Relapse ended up putting it out as our quote unquote first release or first album. I mean, technically everyone says it's an EP because it's only 5 songs, but I'm sorry to break it to everyone, but it's over 40 minutes of music. And I would like to point out that Deicide and Slayer and so forth put out 30-minute albums. So yeah, it's an album.
Rain and Blood was 29 minutes, motherfuckers.
Right. So, I mean, come on. So yeah, that was, there's Ed Parker on the right. So there's Bob, Jeremy, me, Dwayne, and Ed. Yeah. Ed always had fucking style too. I was always jealous of that dude. Just because he was a fucking stylish motherfucker. He had like this fucking. He wore this. He literally looked like a member of Fields of the Nephilim. That was like the other thing that we were all so fucking stoked on. Was like this dude's like just he had style. And he could fucking play, and he was a funny dude. He was just I really enjoyed him as a person in general. He was really fucking cool.
Bob's like the nicest guy ever.
Bob was funny as hell. He could also fart on command. That was the other thing that Bob was good. Bob could fart on command.
Yep.
We just play, hey Bob, fart. You just do it right then and there. Yeah, he was. We call the fountain of gaseous vapors.
Is that the big door you were talking about earlier of the cemetery?
Yeah, that's the door. Yeah, this we did a shot of it as a 3-piece, but this is the one when the Among Majestic Ruin era, which is funny because we never included a photo in the actual album. But yeah. That was it's also weird seeing all these pictures of me with no facial hair. It's like, geez, look at that fucking baby face. Look at that baby face.
Long time ago in a galaxy far
away. Yes, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how Relapse got a hold of it, and they really enjoyed it, and we just kind of But also too, the funny thing is like you see the Among Majestic Ruin lineup there, but that ended up by the time the album came out, we were a whole nother lineup after that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, Ed was not interested in being a metal band. And we weren't accommodating. I don't think we were very accommodating to him and his girlfriend. So so there was that too. He was mad because we were doing this show in Arizona or something, and we didn't have room to take additional people, and he was mad because we couldn't take his girlfriend. So like a couple weeks after that show, he quit the band. So yeah, so that was no more Ed.
Dude. I remember her. I went to. They both came with me up to Grateful Dead show up in the Bay Area. That's right.
Oh boy,
a bunch of friends now. I don't like the Grateful Dead. I like drugs, so that's why I
went. Well, you went to the right place, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's why I was there. So
yeah,
my little Nissan Sentra, I crammed a bunch of friends in there, and we went up there, and Ed and
holy shit,
lady were back there in the back seat. So. I think he was still in the band, maybe not. I don't know. He didn't really talk about it. He knew I was tight with you guys, so he wasn't going to say anything probably if he had left. So
he probably was, but yeah, that was. I remember that era of time. Yeah, but we just, he basically just kind of, I also too. I mean, I'm jokingly saying I don't think it was just like the girlfriend thing. I think it was just really that, he really didn't have a heart in it the way we did. Yeah. So I think that was part of it. It's like, he wanted to do his own thing, and I totally get it. So, he quit, and then eventually, we just kept going with Bob, and we got Gary Griffith. And Gary came in. We met him at an Abscess show. And the joke with that was, I'm pretty sure you were at that show. I remember that because that was a show where Bart fucking grabbed you and picked you up over his head and threw you on the stage. Like he fucking tossed you like a sack of potatoes onto the stage.
Yeah, Reifert had those white pants on with his shirt off, remember? And he was rolling around throwing those white pants.
And that devil mask. And he wore that devil mask. He was doing that little dance, and he wrapped himself up in the cable and fell off the stage. And then Bart grabs you and throws you on the stage. And then,
and like Danny Corrales and Clint from Hex, he was the other guy. Looking, what the fuck are you doing up on the stage? One security guard, that one Peckerwood guy who ran over there, he was gonna beat me up, and like Irma saved me. She was like, no, that's my friend.
Holy shit!
I'm rolling around the floor with Chris Reifert. And,
the thing about that show was that we saw Gary, but the entire time we thought he was this other guy, Dave Konow. And the whole time we're like, oh, it's Dave Konow. And we were doing everything to avoid him because all of us were just kind of like that. I mean, hey, no offense, Dave Konow, but you were kind of rough to be around at that period of time, bro. So,
I used to prank call good old Dave, and my characters, John Killian, Will Romer, I would do my impersonations. And
I remember fucking, what was the one, the Coke on the Cock? Coke on the Cock.
Joe Pupo. I was Joe Pupo.
Joe Pupo, that's right. Coke on the cock. We thought he was Dave Konow, so we were avoiding him until eventually we got a good look at him, and we're like, no, that's not Dave Konow. And then we started talking to him, and I remember Jeremy was like, he was rapping with him for a bit, and he said that he had been out of town and he had come back, and he's from Orange County also, and and then Jeremy's like, hey, well, do you know any keyboard players? We're looking for one. And Gary goes, I'm a keyboard player. So little did we know that Gary was not a keyboard player. And he just told us he was. And then to Gary's credit, he picked that shit up real fucking quick. So
Now,
So he came in.
He's a really good musician. So he just
Oh yeah,
figured it out.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
all
He's
ended up working out.
upper tier all the way. But yeah, he basically he came in and we I remember another really dumb stories too. After Ed quit the band, Jeremy and I don't know how we came up with how this happened, but him and I were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do about keyboards that we don't have someone to actually fucking play it? Because like finding a keyboard player, we might as well literally try to find a fucking unicorn, because forget it, we're not finding a keyboard player. And we were like, so what can we do to like fill that position that we can't fill? So me and him went to Guitar Center, which was, fucking mistake number one. And then we went to there and we went into the keyboard department, and Jeremy was like, we were looking at keyboards, and this guy introduced us to a keyboard called the Korg X3. And he's like explaining the thing and showing us, and we're, fucking around with it or whatever. And he's just saying, hey man, this thing is so easy to play. It's idiot proof. Like both him and I remember that very specifically, that he said it was idiot proof. So he was fucking 100% wrong, because we're both fucking idiots. And it was proof of that, because we could not figure out how to fucking use it at all. It was a fucking computer, basically. So when Gary came in, we said, well, we have this keyboard. And he borrowed it, and he figured out how to use it in every way. He like just totally figured it out and started playing it. And he just really, it was rough in the beginning, but holy shit, like he really got it together. And then we did the showcase show for Relapse. They came to LA and we played the showcase show where it was Mind Rot, Final Conflict, Abscess, and us. And
it was like somewhere in Hollywood, that big theater in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was totally cool. And they made that. I remember they made this fucking fold out poster of the show that was all the band's logos, and on the back of it had like all the releases that were coming out for Relapse and Nuclear Blast on the back, and talking about all the different bands. And so that was like the first time that we met the Relapse guys in person, and we played that show. And then Gary was playing keyboards and Bob Thomas on guitar. And then eventually we were trying to write what would be the Solinari record, and we were kind of putting stuff together, but things weren't really kind of coming together with Bob. And I think he started having other interests, and he just eventually, was tired of it, and he split. And so then Gary said that he could play guitar also. So then Gary came in, and now we're playing as a 4-piece, but Gary's playing both keyboard and guitar.
Yeah.
And that was, the fucking Geddy Lee shit right there. So we just need to get him some fucking Taurus pedals, and he would have been Geddy Lee all, fucking right then and there.
I was hanging out with you guys all the fucking time at the rehearsal room too. And hang out, and I was skeptical when I first met him, and I was like, really, he's gonna do both? And you're all, dude, trust me, he could pull it off. And when you guys started playing that new shit with him, I was like, wow, man, yeah, this guy is total Geddy Lee.
Oh yeah,
dude, it sounded great.
Yeah. And also too, Ed Parker had come back to the band for that period of time to help us kind of write some material. So he did actually, he the song "All the Glory" he actually was a part of, and there might have been something else too. I'm sorry, my memory's a little fucking hazy, but he came in and kind of jammed with us for a bit, and like he kind of helped us kind of usher it in, but he didn't want to stay as a fixture. So he just kind of came in for a bit, and then. But yeah, we more or less, the four of us, kind of put that together, and eventually, we eventually recorded that. But that was but when we were releasing Among Majestic Ruin through Relapse, the lineup was me and Gary, Jeremy, and Dwayne. So that was the 4-piece that we're playing with him playing keyboards and guitar. That when Among Majestic Ruin came out, that was the lineup at that period of time. It took 2 years for that album to come out. So. Yeah, so there was a lot of
really fucking slow back then, but especially Relapse, they were putting out so much shit, man.
That was our fault, dude. We were just like kind of like changing contract, and like we were arguing about things that they wanted from us, and eventually it just became like this. Every time we would talk about the contract with them, they would say, "Here's a contract," and then we would start talking to them about it. And so, wait, we need to make a change, and they come back, and it went from 17 pages to 26 pages, and then we go talk to them again, we going over the contract, and then they, oh wait, no, there's something else missing, and it became 33 pages, and then you know what I mean? It's like, sorry, and we're like, dude, what the fuck? You know, it's like it's becoming fucking War and Peace, and so then we're like, okay, well, you know, if we're gonna do this with you, we want the contract for Among Majestic Bruin to be basically 2 pages. Like we want it to be very simple, to the point. This is it, you know. So that's what we did. And they eventually released Among Majestic Bruin, but it took 2 years for that to happen. But the real game changer, I think, really is that after that finally happened, the album was finally out, and we got on the Milwaukee Metal Fest in '97, and I just really felt like at that period of time there was something in the air for us in that period of time, because that was like one of the greatest shows, that album, you know, performances, audiences, support, you know, the whole 9 yards. It really felt like we were, you know, appreciated was in that period of time when we did that at the Milwaukee Metal Fest. And then, you know, we played that, and it's funny, there's a video of it too. I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah, you know what? Let me hunt it down. I'm looking. Where's it at? Here we go.
Yeah.
Here's a snippet. Here's a quick snippet. Larry's not here.
Yeah, Larry's not here.
Yeah, I just grabbed a minute or so of footage.
That piece of shit fucking drum set.
Jack Dashik. Yeah, there's Gary.
Drop a drumstick. Boom! Hell yeah. Dwayne's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Why are you stopping?
Dwayne got all confused.
God, that drum set was just falling apart. Like, fuck.
It's a savage sound, though. You know, you guys sounded still really, really, really fucking heavy. Cavern.
Now it gets mellow.
Yeah. Now it's time to go to sleeping.
Yeah, that drum set, like I was probably like the 37th drummer on it by that point, you know, and it was being held together by duct tape and guitar strings. Like it was all falling apart, like the whole thing. I remember at one point when I was playing, I hit the china, and it literally, the whole stand like lifted off the ground and flew off the drum riser on the ground. And then I'm sitting there like, I was just waving by to it. I was like, oh, fuck it. Okay, cool. You know, and I just kept playing. And then all of a sudden I look to my peripheral, and there's Emilio. And Emilio comes up, and I see he's coming, and he's like tightening my stands, and like he's totally like saving my fucking ass, like big time. And then the funny thing about that video too is I was laughing because I totally forgot about this, but right when that performance was done and we finished, we did our last song, and you see me stand up and get, you know, behind the kit, and all you see is me just fucking flipping off the entire drum set. I was just like, fuck you. Like all the time I was so fucking pissed. That drum set was just a piece of shit. So yeah, oh man. But yeah, I was laughing at that. I was like, I totally forgot I did that. I was like, yeah.
Another video that I found too. This is at Corona. I don't know if you guys might have been opening for Grave Massacre, maybe, but that was at Spanky's, you said, huh? Let's see.
That's Showcase. That's Ed and Bob. Yeah, that's Showcase. I was opening for Grave.
That is Grave, right? That's what I thought. Yeah, because I remember, you know, we were all here for this one, of course. It was Grave's first time, you know, and I believe this was Grave's first time here, wasn't it?
No, this was the first time was at Spanky's for Into the Grave. This is for the Soulless tour.
Oh, okay. It was what, 94 then, huh?
Yeah, 94. Yeah, 94. Yeah, we had just recorded Among Majestic Ruin at this period of time.
Okay, so yeah, the first Grave would be at Spanky's then with Massacre.
Right, and then we played. Yeah, we played this show with for them for that tour, and then a couple years later we did the 4-piece with Gary on keyboards and guitar, and that was for their Hating Life tour.
Oh, okay.
So crazily enough, we've opened for Grave 3 times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's worse bands to open up for back in the
Oh
day.
fuck, they were fucking rad as fucking that. The Soul, actually, I think the Solus tour, they were even cooler than the Into the Grave, which is like hard to believe. But the Solus tour, they were heavy as fuck. They were so rad. So,
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, real quick, I wanted to get into the first formation of Gravehill.
Uh-oh.
And then we'll get into the favorites list we were, talking about through email or whatever. We'll
Okay.
get into that real quick.
Cool.
But like I said, I mean, I was going to spend a lot of time on Morjon because, there's a ton of history there. And
True.
that's the old days. So I didn't, I knew that we were going to spend a big chunk on Morjon, so I apologize.
I mean, come on, Mike, come on, dude. We're old. What do old people do? Talk about old shit.
Old days, right?
Yeah. So come on. Yeah.
So
It's all
memory,
good.
I mean, we'll cover some of this other stuff. Obviously, I don't want to just, glance, just fucking, go over everything really quick. But basically, we're almost at 2 hours, and I figured, we're going to talk about Morjon for a couple hours. There's a little bit more, we'll talk about obviously Morjon related later on. But let's see. So I remember being down in Pomona one night, and I was with my crew, Tommy and Pat, the Guerreros and the Wrangles and everybody. We were down there at a Cool Keith show at the Glass House, right?
Nice.
So I go outside to smoke a cigarette, and in the distance I hear this Hellhammer type music coming from up at the top of this building. And I was like, what the fuck? And there was this Venom Hellhammer type music that was shooting from the top of this like 6-7 story old ass 1920s building.
Yeah.
And I called Tommy over there. Tommy's like, dude, that sounds fucking awesome. I was like, dude, what the fuck is that? Lo and behold, that was fucking Gravehill. That was the original Gravehill. You guys were up there because later, once you and I talked a couple weeks after that, you're like, hey, dude, you got to come check out my new group with the guys from Bionic and fucking, we sound like, Venom and Hellhammer. I'm like, dude, we practiced in Pomona. I think I fucking heard that shit, because nobody was doing that sound back then in like 99.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
so
tell me how that all came together, the OG incarnation of Gravehill.
The OG incarnation was me and Mike Cheese, also known as Mike Apocalypse, or Mike Amaral was his actual name. Mike, I met him at Bionic Records, which, you and I frequented all the fucking time.
What's up, brother Mike?
Start talking to Mike, and I mean, just him and I just probably spent a half hour of the first conversation talking about how much we fucking love Venom, basically. And then I was working for this place called Phantom Sound and Vision, which is basically a music import place. They sell import music to all the record stores across the United States. And I got a job there because of Dwayne from Morjon, because he worked there. And I walked in, and I coincidentally knew his boss, because at the time I had worked at Kinko's when I met her, and we had just got off that Contamination tour. And I basically, said, hey, I need a job. She said, cool, I need a person, so show up, So I got a job there, and at the time, talking to Mike, he's like, dude, I really need to get another job. I was like, I'm only working here part-time. And it's like, dude, I could probably get you a job at Phantom Sound and Vision, in sales or whatever. So I sent him all the information, and he got a job there. So then what happened there is I was living with one of the guys I worked with there. I was renting a room from him and his parents, and I basically didn't have a car at the time. And Mike basically picked me up, he drove me home from work. I got him the job there. I guess he felt sorry for me enough to take me home. So he'd drive me home, and him and I would spend every drive home making up fantasy bands and listening to fucking these comp tapes that Mike had put together. And one of them was called Heavy Metal Holocaust. And it was just all this fucking OG 80s fucking just like German, Polish, English, American thrash, just like the best shit, like the fucking, the cream of the crop. And so, and so we were sitting there coming up with all these fucking asinine fucking bands, like these just idiotic bands. And him and I, we'd come up with the album concepts and all this shit. And just him and I were just laughing, just having, we're just fucking clowns. So we're just, having a good time. And somewhere along the line, there was a conversation where him and I basically said, we need to fucking make a band like this, you know, and we're listening to fucking, it was like Morbid Tales. And we're like, you know, we need to do like Venom, Frost, Hellhammer, you know, Sodom type fucking, you know, shit that no one's playing. And I was like, dude, let's totally do it. And so we started coming up with ideas like, hey, what are we gonna call the band? You know, like, you know, we're actually went from us coming up with all these idiotic bands to actually a real band. And him and I started talking, and I said, you know what, dude, fucking Zan from Divine Eve told me this story about one time he was at the Rainbow Room or something, and he was getting drunk with a bunch of Hollywood cokeheads or whatever, and he met this guy from Switzerland that turned out to be Tom G. Warrior's like childhood friend, like somebody he grew up with. And he had told Zan, now to keep in mind, this was like 99, 2000. This was before this was common knowledge, that he's like, well, when Hellhammer first started, they weren't called Hellhammer. They were called Grave Hill. And he told me that. And this was on the same period of time that I was riding with, you know, Mike to, you know, home from work. And I said, dude, we should call the band Grave Hill. And he's like, and I told him the story. He's like, dude, we have to call the band that now. It's like, you know, we'd be fucking stupid if we don't, you know? And so he says, you know, I think I know a guitarist, another guy that works at Bionic with me. And I was like, okay, cool. So we brought him into the band, and he basically, the three of us just basically wrote material like, man, it just like we were just shitting out riffs. There were like so many great ideas. As soon as the first moment we started jamming together, I mean, we were so fucking on point. And we wrote that first Practitioners of Fell Sorcery demo. That was the first thing that we wrote, those 5 songs. The thing that sucks is that actually we wrote like 3 other songs after that were never recorded. Wow. That were even better than those fucking songs. And so that, you know, but what ended up happening is that, you know, we had that, okay, so Shane, the guitarist, had this rehearsal room in this Pomona fucking, it used to be a former bank building. The downstairs of it was like some kind of club. And then the upstairs, like that downstairs took up 2 stories because it was like a vaulted ceiling. So basically floor 1 and 2 was that fucking club. So then floors 3, 4, 5 were all fucking old bank building offices or some shit. And they had like this tiny little jam room in one of them. And when Mike and I came in, and they had this, because Shane had this other band that they were doing, and he said, you know, why don't we combine together so then we can bring all our gear in together and we'll get a bigger room and then split the money. So we ended up having this old fucking bank building conference room was our jam room that had fucking bay windows all on one side of the room. I have to say, and I can't even argue this, that this was the fucking raddest jam room I've ever been in my life. It was just too fucking cool that you can look outside, and you're, you know, we were on the 3rd floor, so you know everybody down below, and you know we covered the fucking place in fucking Venom posters and everything else, and you know it was just the fucking room ruled. And we would just go in there and we just woodshedded. We just wrote song. We just kept, you know, killing it. And I remember, dude, we wrote like, actually, you know, when you came in, when you and I did Grave Hill after, and we did that one song that was from the demo. The fuck was it called? The one that was totally like, me and Shane were just sitting there listening to Welcome to Hell. Yeah. And Mike was on, like, because we had this like little lounge area in the room. It was like such a... Yeah, and we were sitting there, and we were listening to Welcome Hell, and Mike Cheese was just like asleep on the couch on one side of the room, and him and I are on the other, just listening to fucking Welcome to Hell, and we immediately came up with a song idea. Like we both just looked at each other and then went and just wrote that song like right then and there, just from just sitting there, just listening to Welcome to Hell, you know. Nice. And I remember you came in and hung out with us a few times at that room. And, you know, even then I was doing drum and vocals because there was a couple songs that I did I did vocals in that. That was fucking rough. And then
you were all excited. Hey, check this out, Mikey. I'm going to fucking sing. I was like, oh, nice. So yeah, that was the last song on the demo. I remember.
Yeah. And Infernal Oath. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. So then we recorded that demo with a friend that I helped get a job at also Mike helped get a job at Phantom Sound and Vision, and he worked with me in my department, and he also owned a studio, but he had to close the studio down or whatever, so he didn't have an actual place to do it, but he had all the gear. And we met that dude Phil White. I don't know if you remember him. Yeah,
he
Phil.
was friends with Kelly and
yeah. And so his dad like owns some like body shop or some shit, and he's like, yeah, you guys can record there. Just come in, set up, do your shit, then break it down. So we showed up there, and I remember recording the practitioner's demo next to a '57 Chevy. Like right next to me, and then just nice. It's totally getting renovated, and here's my drum set right next to it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we did the demo then, and we were just jamming in that room. And I think the first incarnation really the problems with that band was the fact that I was not someone that was complacent with just like writing songs and then never playing shows and never like being a band. I wasn't cool with the idea of like those two didn't want to play shows. They wanted to be like the most underground band ever that no one ever heard. And it just didn't make any sense to me. It's like, if I'm spending all this time writing songs, I want to play them for other people. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so we just that's where the rift, came in with us. And then eventually, I got hit up to rejoin Morgion because I had split in that period of time, and they came back to me and asked me, to come back to play. And I was like, well, I want to play shows. I want to go on tour. I don't want to just sit around and, be the greatest band that no one ever heard. So yeah, I started just putting a lot of my time into Morgion. Eventually just Gravehill just kind of fizzled out. This was kind of no more.
Yeah, no, it was a bummer too, man. It was a bummer because there was a lot of potential with that original Gravehill,
Yeah.
It was disappointing. Obviously it worked out for both of us later on, a few years later, but
very true. Very true.
It was interesting because nobody was, like I said, nobody was doing that fucking sound back then, so it was just refreshing. Yeah. Everybody was pretty excited as far as the close people that you knew about, that OG Gravehill. They're just like,
yeah,
oh, man, this is going to be fucking incredible,
Yeah. And yeah, that just kind of fizzled out, and then Morgion got back together, and then we got a whole nother lineup in that, and then we did a European tour, and we were writing another record, and all that stuff kind of went with that, and then that kind of went under, and then I, for a very short, like a year, was it like a year and a half at the most, I did that band King of the Crow. Yeah. And then that just kind of, it's just kind of funny because I think that, looking back on a lot of things, everybody's got stories like this of, being in a band and whatnot, is that, everyone, either gets along or they don't. And the King of the Crow was like literally the most volatile band I've ever been in. Like everyone really was so not friendly with one another, really. So it was kind of like, that just kind of it was cool because like I thought we wrote some really passionate songs. I thought we released a couple really great stuff, but I seem to be the only person in that whole equation that really felt that way. But that ended, and then you and I started talking, and then then the emergence of Gravehill after that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at one point, my band at the time wasn't really going anywhere, and you were talking about possibly moving to Portland, and you were frustrated because of the King of the Crow thing, and I had the idea, hey, why don't we reform Gravehill in a sense, same concept, and all sing and play bass or something, and we both agreed I got to get Mike's approval, to take over, because the first thing I was going to ask him if he wanted to sing, and he turned that down, but he said, yeah, you have my blessing, because we're brothers anyways. Mike has bad teeth and I have the beer belly, like you said in the old interview. We're basically the fucking same person. So crazy fucking maniacal assholes that So
yeah, you're both terrorists in your own right, that's for sure. Yeah.
So that Mike was like, yeah, man, you have my blessing, brother. Fucking carry the torch and fucking do it, just like I did Jason later, man. And I think they did a good job, and Jason's doing a good job. It has done a good job, and it's like you're the heart and soul of Gravehill, and it also Gravehill has a mind and heart of its own too. It's its own evil entity.
That's true. I mean, if I could say anything about Gravehill, though, it's the fact that we basically, the band reinvented itself a few times. Yeah. Each incarnation was a reinvention. So I mean, I understand. I mean, come on, dude. You and I both are fans of music. We both are fans of bands. Grew up listening to fucking, all this stuff that shaped us as who we are. And I understand when people are like, they kind of abandon things because that whole fucking, dynamic changed. It's not the same thing,
Yeah.
So what was it? Was that one guy that always compared bands that lost members as they were just cover bands?
Cover bands, yeah.
Yeah, they're just a cover band. It's not the real band. They're cover bands. It's like, well, it's like 3 of the 5 people. It's not a cover band, But yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, I understand when people kind of go, well, that this isn't the same thing anymore, and it isn't. It isn't, but I think the I mean, because when you and I were doing Gravehill, it was different than the practitioners lineup. It was different, as we brought our own spin to how that happened. It's not just you. I mean, it was everybody else too, like all the people that came. And I mean, you remember too, like when we were writing in the beginning, man, it was just like same thing with that first lineup. I mean, we woodshed like a motherfucker. We had so many fucking ideas and so many songs and so much, man, you and I were just like this idea after idea after idea. It was like I mean, like you and I were just like ready to fucking take over the world with that when that thing first started, and we were so fucking like pumped. I do remember that. Yeah, and the band was like, dude, I mean, and also too, it's like we had so much fucking fun. Like we had a lot of fucking fun in that band, a lot of fucking stories too. So, if anything,
with Babcock, it was mainly, I mean, Kyle was there too. Kyle contributed, but it was mainly me, you, and Babcock that wrote that Metal of Death. And it was like, okay, now we knew the instant that we started jamming that it was going to work. It was always like, you'll know within 10 seconds if this is going to work or not. And it was like, all right. And then Rob and I felt really comfortable with the, putting Self-Inflicted to bed at the time and moving on to Gravehill and doing, better things in that sense. And
and finding Adam and then finding Jason. And then, just like once Jason came into the band, it coalesced, man. It was just like, man, we were
and, right to the Pentagram era, we were just a fucking total death machine, starting out there and playing out of town. And then, Harv joining, totally different dynamic with that, but also a great thing. And,
that was a lot of fun too. Profile. A lot of fucking ridiculous shit happened then too.
We could fucking go on for hours and hours. That shit, man. I mean, we were
a lot of shit that we should not be telling stories on YouTube about.
No, I'll get my channel banned.
Fucking canceled immediately. Yep. You guys are fucking horrible people.
We're the Metal of Death Led Zeppelin.
Oh man, fuck! If there was a TV to throw out of something, we fucking threw it. That's for sure.
Yep.
Man. I just remember the blood. The blood was like the one thing. The blood was always just like, I mean, just so many stories of people just like fucking flipping the fuck out on us because of the blood. Yeah. So just like, that fucking show in Milwaukee when we were spitting blood in the bathroom and it just like somebody was fucking murdered in there. Like the owner came out just like, look, he was like fucking calling the cops, like ready to fucking send us away. He was so fucking pissed off. So, yeah, that was so fucking great.
Yeah, and then the later lineup with Chris and Nelson, with Death Curse and that together. And it's always we always got good, you had a lot of the main ideas with the songwriting, but then there was always, me, Rob, and then later on Christian. And then even Jason, Jason had some great ideas. He wrote Devil Worshipper and the main riff on Death Curse itself. And it's like we always fucking figured it out one way or another. There was always really good songwriting. Even Harvey. Unholy Executioner, and I think he with the other ones on When All Roads. So
Consumed by Rats. That was Matt's song.
Remember that? Yeah. That was supposed to be a that band he was supposed to do with Cam Lee and Cole or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
a great fucking
Cadaverizer.
song too, man. Yeah,
Cadaverizer. Yeah, I remember that.
Cadaverizer, there you go.
Yeah, and also it's funny too because like it was the only time that like I think any band ever used a fucking sample in a song that came from fucking Indiana Jones. You remember that? The rats at the end was like straight up from fucking the Last Crusade.
Yeah,
like we need to find something with rat sounds. Like where are we gonna find rat sounds? And Jason found this. Dude, this is a great scene with all these rats. You know, like oh perfect. So yeah, Indiana Jones made his way into that shit.
Good times, good times. Well, fucking A, man. That was as far as Grayville goes. That's fucking awesome that you guys got Matt, you know, now and Mike. And then you guys will be back at it, fucking jamming out again. So I can't wait to hear the new shit. Maybe I'll have to come by and hang out.
Well, yeah, dude. I mean, you know, we're not far from you. We're at that fucking electric, whatever the hell it's called. So
is that the one on Beach, or where is that at?
It's on Commonwealth. It's off Commonwealth. Commonwealth and Raymond.
It's over by where Tweaker Ted's old studios used to be, kind of.
No, that's the other direction. That's like more Tustin. This is like the dead center Fullerton. It's like right in like near Old Town Fullerton.
Oh,
it's like right over there. Well, yeah, Commonwealth and Raymond. Yeah.
Remember the old the first tiny little Tweaker Ted studio I went to in Fullerton?
Yeah.
That little tiny room.
Yeah. That one was like more by Orange. So that one was more south of where I'm at. I'm more north of it. I'm like that's like below. That's like that. Yeah, that's like. Wait a second. That is more south from me, but not too far. That's actually pretty close. Where I'm at is like think like if you just keep taking Commonwealth, you're gonna eventually get to like the little downtown area harbor. It's like really close to harbor.
All right.
So it's like that's where we're at. But yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it's you know, just like all jam rooms is fucking tiny, but you know, it works.
It works.
So,
that's all that matters.
You know,
so yeah,
but,
I wanted to jump into some pop culture shit. I had you make some lists or whatever, but we're gonna start with some fucking heavy shit. Talk about some heavy albums that you sent me that are your favorite. Kind of a combo of like your favorite bands and albums, because we were talking about it. Because I wanted you to separate it, but it's kind of redundant because my favorite bands put out my favorite albums and whatnot. So
right.
You know, so we'll start alphabetically with this beast. So
of course, that's the greatest death metal band and greatest death metal record ever written.
The Holy Grail. I know a lot of people prefer Mental Funeral, but you and I are Severed Survival guys.
We'll
talk a little bit about this classic.
I remember, you know, the funniest thing, the memory I have of Autopsy Severed Survival is I remember at the time when I got it, I was working under the table for a fucking construction company doing security, which basically they just give you like a blue collared shirt with a fucking stupid badge and has a security patch on it. And you just like drive to this construction site and you just sit around there for 12 hours and get paid to keep people from stealing fucking copper and tin and shit from the construction site, basically, like keeping tweakers out. That's basically my job. And I got Severed Survival at that period of time when I was doing that job, and I would do 12-hour shifts. So sometimes it would either be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I would spend that entire time listening to records, and this was one of the records that I listened to all the fucking time in that period of time. So yeah.
I always thought of it as like death, scream, bloody gore, but 10 times more intense. I know people say, wait a minute. No. I'm telling you, it
was like a horror movie soundtrack. It's like you felt like there were moments where they were just like pulling like horror movie scores and kind of like some of those harmonies and some of those riffs were just like so like it was like writing a movie. Like it was very much in that vein. And also too, they were also good with melody and also really good with just being heavy and not necessarily having to be super fast.
Yeah. So, the haunting melodies of that guitar.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Cutler and Corrales, man, still my favorite in death.
Oh yeah.
As far as the duo, you know, just
and then some really tasteful solos, and then just like fucking Kerry King as fuck every once in a while too, you know, which was like also like super rad, you know.
Definitely better than Kerry though, man. There was a lot more soul in them, you know. They're more like Jeff sometimes, but they went off on some Kerry stuff every once in a while.
Oh yeah, you know, the whammy bar has a purpose, so you know.
Right.
Just not too much Rick Ross style.
There's still a charm to it, though. You know, I don't care what anybody says. There's still some charm to it. It's like very memorable. Leprosy is like very memorable just for that fucking reason, I think, you know.
Leprosy's heavy as fuck, too. I mean,
leprosy. Yeah. Leprosy is see, the problem with this, but Mike, the problem with this, too, is the fact that, you know, it's like you're trying to take only 10 things that you could say are your top 10 things. I could make fucking 100 without it fucking breaking a sweat. And every single one of them are just as meaningful as the other. You know, so.
Yeah, for sure. So then we'll just go alphabetically because you didn't really have no particular order or whatever.
Yeah.
I was interested. Yeah, you like this bolt thrower the best. I'm a Realm of Chaos guy, but talk a little bit about For Victory.
Okay, so to me, it feels like, so Fourth Crusade is barely below this, in my opinion. Fourth Crusade and For Victory are my favorites of favorites. But the thing about Realm of Chaos and War Master is it feels like the songs are they're just so close to falling off the rails just a little bit. And it has a lot to do with Andy Will. There's just his meter is just fucking everywhere. And it just felt like they were still trying to find themselves. It just felt like in that era. Don't get me wrong. I think that both those records have riffs that are just beyond fucking, you know, memory. They're fucking the Bible of fucking killer fucking English metal in general. But For Victory, for me, feels like they finally got the recipe right. Like they finally got to exactly where they were trying to be the entire time. That's what it kind of felt to me. The harmonies on this record are fucking you know, they're second to none in my opinion. And the drums are just right on point. Everything is just right on point. They just really feel like they've really found themselves. And everything they've done past this is basically this is their fucking their template going forward. You know, and I know that a lot of people will, you know, Realm of Chaos or War Master would, you know, because, you know, first impressions are always an important thing with a lot of people. You know, the first thing you heard is almost usually your favorite thing. But in this particular instance, For Victory is that for me, you know, just like, you know, I remember specifically when Jeremy got this record. And it's a fucking tearjerker, Mikey, why this story sucks is the fact that me and Jeremy months before had bought tickets to see Merciful Fate and Solitude Aeternus. Okay. Merciful Fate for Time, which is very important to me to point out. If I was putting out 100, Time, no matter how many people talk shit about the fact that I'm not mentioning Melissa or Don't Break the Oath, but Time is like one of my favorite heavy metal records. So I'm going to see that, and I'm going to see Solitude Aeternus and their prime at the Palace. Okay, so I was like, dude, a show I have never wanted to see more in my life was happening. And Jeremy and I show up to the Palace. It's fucking dark. There's nobody there. And we pull into the parking lot and there's some people still like kind of straggling around. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? Oh, King's sick. So they canceled. And we're like, what the fuck? And then we turn and we're like, well, hey, is Solitude Aeternus still here? And they're like, dude, you guys just missed them. They just pulled out as you pulled in. No bullshit.
Wow.
So, I mean, dude, the term crushed doesn't even cover. Like, him and I were fucking bummed the fuck out, dude. We're like, dude. And so we're like, well, what the fuck? We're in Hollywood. What are we going to do now? And he's like, hey, let's just go to Green Hell. You know, and see if we can find some records or something. So we go to Green Hell and Jeremy finds that on vinyl.
All right.
And so he bought it and we drove back to my house and we put it on. And we listened to that instead of seeing Merciful Fate and Solitude Aeternus. And here, just to cap that story, so Stygian Crown got to play Hell's Heroes this last March with Solitude Aeternus. So as I'm making it very aware to everyone is that how important that fucking band is to me. Right. And so we got to finally see them. And I got to meet them afterwards, and I told every fucking one of them that story, and just to make them feel guilty. I'm like, right. God damn you guys, you know.
How could
And
you
of
leave
course,
the parking lot before I get there?
and they of course if you just describe the term crestfallen in all their faces, it even bummed them out. And I told them it's okay because I finally got to see you now.
Yeah,
But
right.
still, but
I
it
guess
was
we went
funny
to the
telling that
bookstore on
story.
the way home.
Yeah. So yeah, but this 4 victory record is like that literally came from that story. So
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so it's attached to that. That's great.
oh yeah, forever be. So
So we got this
yeah.
one. I know this one's very influential for you too.
Oh yeah, Mum Majestic Ruin wouldn't be a Mum Majestic Ruin or Solinari without that record. That Jamie is the one that actually gave me his copy of that because he was getting rid of a bunch of old tapes and he didn't have the cover for it, just had the tape, and he gave it to me. And I was hanging out at his house or whatever, and he gave it to me. And I was leaving. I took off to go somewhere, and I put it in my tape player and never left my tape player for fucking months. So yeah. That's the fucking Bible of doom metal in my opinion. So
yeah, no, I agree. As far as traditional, not hipster shit, not funeral, any other subgenres.
Oh yeah,
straight up OG doom metal.
Oh,
80s,
dude,
like this is it right here. This is the top. For
and
sure.
then also to add to that too, the very first time Stygian Crown got to play fucking Germany, we played with Candlemass, and it's with Johann, this vocalist,
right,
singing only songs from the early albums, and I got to witness that in person, and that was also fucking huge too.
Yeah.
So that as well.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. So then we go to ooh.
Oh, tattooed on my body. Yeah. Just like
right there.
One of my absolute favorite drumming recordings of all time. Like that album is a fucking like an air drum record in every way.
He's got a Bonham sound on there, actually. We were talking about Bonham earlier. It's just a fucking real pounding Bonham fucking style. Yeah, the production.
Oh yeah.
So fucking, and it punches you in the face,
Yeah, just fucking Motorhead with just far more class, which is like sad thing to say because Motorhead is all class, but fucking
it's almost like Venom could be categorized as almost like an evil Motorhead, but I think this album too is a very dark evil Motorhead.
Oh yeah. And it just Tom throws out the term avant-garde a lot, and I think it's always within good reason because it's so fucking very true. They are very avant-garde. They are literally one of a kind. There's like no other band that's even touches the surface of being quite like this band.
Right.
So, and I mean, do the image. I mean, just look at that cover, man. That fucking the heptagram, that's like the raddest shit of all time. It's like as soon as I had the money, man, that tattooed on my body in 1993. So
no, the young metalhead, you see that and you're like, I gotta fucking buy this.
Oh, dude.
Even the Emperor's Return 12-inch with the tits and the demon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude.
That's even more metal,
Dude, I have the Emperor's Return flag in our jam room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like meaningful as fuck, So, yeah, for sure.
So this one is one of the albums that actually, you remember how fucking massive and how hyped this band was, obviously.
Oh, big time. Big time.
The story of me and Robert going to Wild Rags and Nihilist is dead. And we were so bummed. And, it's like, oh my God, they're about to get signed. The death metal boom's happening and Nihilist is gone. And they were the best, and it was like, no. And then all of a sudden Rich is like, yeah, but the new band, I'm getting their demo in pretty soon from CBR. And I was like, what? Yeah, Entombed? That's the new band. And then next thing you know, like a week later, you got The Life Goes On. And
well, shit, dude. Nihilist ends. You got Entombed and Unleashed. Which again, saying, like I said, if I could put 100 albums on here, dude, fucking, Where No Life Dwells, like, holy shit, that album is fucking flawless.
Absolutely.
But Entombed, Left Hand Path, I mean, it's just finding out how the whole album was made, and that it's basically fucking V drums, like electric drums, and fucking it was all made in 50-watt PV combo amps and HM2 pedals, and the whole again, this album is without this album there would be no Morgion. like
Right,
without
right.
question. This is the Autopsy, Entombed are like the most important bands to the Morgion, especially in the fucking beginning. But that never left. Even when we were Doom, Entombed and Autopsy were still very much a part of our sound.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously later on you're talking Bolt Thrower, Candlemass and whatnot. You can hear it, especially
yeah,
the melodies on For Victory, whatever. But
yeah,
like that Milwaukee Metal Fest footage, that there was still a lot of raw heaviness, which is obviously Autopsy
yeah.
and
Oh
still
yeah,
and
very much.
here's another one that every metalhead will be aware of.
Oh yeah, this was
Absolute classic.
we're talking about impressionable albums as a kid or whatever. This was the one for sure. Actually, one of the things that I remember watching a lot of old videos of them, like the old music videos, as well as like them in the studio. There's some few bootleg things of the Peace of Mind era of Iron Maiden, and one of the things that I took from that is, and I changed that within my own sound, is that I noticed that Nico plays with coated drum heads. So I started last like maybe 10 years. I've been playing with coated drum heads just for that specific reason, because of this fucking specific record. I mean, as dumb as that is, it's like such a small detail, but I'm just telling you, it's like there's something about. I would say if I could pick like top drum like productions, like drum sounds of records, this is by far in my top two, like easily.
Yeah, for sure. Nah, I mean, I think, Clive played on Number of the Beast still. He was still the drummer. So this is Nico's first, Iron Maiden performance.
Yeah, his first foray. Yeah.
Shit. Like, God
well,
damn, man.
I just never understood people like basically trying to pick like, who's better, Clive or Nico. They're both two different drummers in every way. They are different. But they're both fucking phenomenal. It's like basically saying, choose peanut butter or jelly. Well, can we have both, please? It's like, come on.
Maiden, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. This is this is one of those very young me, impressionable. This is like elementary school. Plus the cover fucking rules too.
Oh yeah, no, the whole concept, and the world peace tour, and the whole thing,
yeah,
fucking crazy. And then obviously this one too.
Oh yeah, holy shit.
The first CD I ever purchased when it came out.
No shit. Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, this is
so Mystic Pizza at the Glendale Galleria. Tom, my brother, took me, and he's all, pick a CD, so I did. Screaming for Vengeance.
Yeah, I remember we were talking earlier about that fucking that Defenders. It is Defenders of the Faith, but still, like half the songs that they played were Screaming for Vengeance. But I remember that video because it was on a birthday of mine, and I think I was in fifth or sixth grade, and my parents had a birthday party for me at the house, and we did like some scavenger hunt, and it was since my birthday is so close to Halloween, they did the thing where all of us wore fucking costumes for a thing. So me and like few of my friends, Herman included, we all fucking did the whole Kiss thing. So we're all Kiss. So imagine these fucking weird little kids like running up to your house, like ringing the doorbell, and they look like, Devil and Kiss and fucking robots and I'll stand there asking you for a list of things for your scavenger hunt. And that was the night that we stayed up really late so we could watch that fucking live Judas Priest.
Nice.
That same era of time. Yeah.
I think, it was Licorice Pizza, not Mystic Pizza. The name of the
Licorice Pizza. Yeah. I remember it was in the mall. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's I bought what was it? I Can't Drive 55 for my fucking sister for fucking her birthday or something at a Licorice Pizza, just to show the time frame. So yeah.
Fucking Sammy was rocking, man. So then
dude.
His fucking that old shit's fucking badass. And then we got Dio's first album. It was kind of like Sabbath had kind of shit the bed there for a little while. Those last couple albums they did weren't very good. There was a couple of tracks. The rest were kind of just.
And then my Never Say Die and Yeah, Technical Ecstasy. They have some shiny moments on both those
They
records,
do,
but it doesn't feel like they're firing on all cylinders. They're just kind of,
Here they are for sure.
Yeah, this is well. I mean, Dio's is like I don't know. Of all singers that I ever had such a massive impression over, he was always my number one. Like no matter, as much as everybody will make a big deal about Dickinson or Halford or whatever, Dio's always been kind of, the unsung hero for me most of my life. And I've argued with numerous people, you included, that, to me, the Dio era of Sabbath is far superior than any other Sabbath era. But, people will disagree.
All right. Yeah,
Right. But to me, yeah, Dio Sabbath has always been my number one. Rainbow and fucking, basically the solo Dio shit, again, I remember hearing Last in Line, from my brother-in-law. It was like one of the first thing, one of the records back in that impressionable era that he played at the house all the time.
Right.
And, but yeah, Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, like it's really hard because like Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, to me, it's like, I wish they could all just be one record, because I could take like pieces of both those records to make one of the greatest records of all time, because like you have Children of the Sea, but then you also have Sign of the Southern Cross, but then Neon Nights is so fucking incredible. Yeah. And so, like I said, there's like so many great things about both those records, but
Mob Rules is awesome too, but I think this one has more bangers. Like not every song is a banger, and then Mob Rules is like half of it is bangers, and the rest is like, oh, it's okay,
Yeah.
But I mean, live too. I didn't get a chance to see him live, but my brother did, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they were great with Dio." They were great.
Man, yeah, I got to see solo Dio. I saw solo Dio live, but I never got to see. Well, no, what am I talking about? I've seen Dio. Well, you have too. We saw Heaven and Hell. I mean, we saw the,
a little bit different. But yeah, it was pretty much the similar lineup, and they were incredible, and they played a lot of these songs, and obviously, so then we'll move on to another. I know I already picked this image out even before we. I knew you were going to name this one because I know.
Dude, yeah. Oh my God. I mean, the thing about Trouble is that they're one of those bands that I've had a really tough time like choosing what is my favorite record, because there's just so much greatness in every fucking record.
Yeah.
So the Skull is just fucking mind blowing. I also like the one of the things that I also enjoy about this is that one of the greatest things for me and ever being in Grave Hill, and especially like, meeting Nelson and then all these years of playing music with Nelson now, from doing Grave Hill to now doing Stygian Crown, is one of my favorite things of all time is the fact that I've been able to turn him on to bands, and just watching this person that's never really heard this before become like his favorite fucking thing ever. So that Trouble is like one of those. When I remember playing him the Skull, and of course all these times is always us on tour,
Yeah.
And I play him the Skull, and it's like becomes like it's like it never leaves him for the longest time. So love that shit, So, but Psalm 9 is, dude, the song Psalm 9, it's like, Jesus Christ. But it's also, too, like one of those bands that I was cursed. There were two bands that I was always cursed with, Trouble and Cathedral, which also, again, in my top 100, Forced Equilibrium, in my opinion, is like one of the greatest doom metal records ever written. But again, it's like, am I going to choose that or Candlemass, So... But yeah, that was a quandary, just to say. But no, but with this band, I tried 3 times to see them live, and each time some shit happened that prevented it from happening. Car broke down. I got stuck at work. I showed up and they already played. I missed them completely. So Trouble and Cathedral are both those bands. Now, however, I got to see the Skull, and I mean, no offense to the Skull, but it's not Trouble. That was the thing. We're missing the 2 guitarists. That was really them. As great as the Skull are, it just wasn't Trouble. But but I will say that Eric Wagner along with Dio is also one of those impressionable singers. It's always been one of my absolute favorites.
Oh, he was fantastic.
So amazing singer. Ray, really fucking cool dude too, actually.
I heard about
So
that.
yeah.
Rest in peace, Eric.
Yeah.
And then, as far as the heavy stuff goes, we end
Oh.
with the Mighty album, of course.
You could pretty much take my entire fucking collection and fucking throw it in a fucking fire, and the only band that I would really be bummed about is that. Like, there is no band that I don't give a fuck what anybody says. We can all argue all day long. You know, they're not the original black metal band. You know what? Fuck you. They are the original black metal band. This is the numero uno, top shit, biggest dick on the block fucking band of all time.
Damn right.
So absolutely. I mean, if I'm going to spend time playing in a fucking tribute band, which is fucking stupid enough as it is, it's going to be a Venom tribute band. That's all I'm going to say. So
there you go. No, that was ridiculous. I accidentally took it off. Let me bring it back up for a couple more seconds.
Also, such an impressionable cover too. Like that cover art, you know. I remember this, like, and again, we're kids. You know, I remember seeing them in fucking magazines and pictures of them. And I remember we just literally were afraid of them. Like, this band are the fucking devil worshippers. They are the real fucking deal, you know, which is bullshit. But I mean, when we were kids, it was totally like, you know, so they were like a band we were afraid to hear. And then when I finally did, I was like, you know, this is bar none. This is bar none.
You mentioned like staying with Scott from Cyanide. Remember when we stayed with him and he had that poster of them on the shore?
Yeah.
And he
with
said,
the axe.
"You just totally ripped off Venom." And I was like, "Oh shit! I never saw that. I never realized that." Yep, it was the first Venom picture. He's like, "Yeah, we just worshipped that picture, man. We wanted to be like Venom."
Oh, dude.
That's what a lot of us did, man. You know.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Actually, a mutual friend on Facebook, Kat, basically took pictures of the same spot where they took those pictures and had posted them on Facebook or whatever. Man, I have to admit, I sat there and just like went through those pictures like 2-3 times, like, you know, for a while, just like, wow, like, holy shit. So
that's killer.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, before we get into the pop culture stuff, we will get into some not necessarily heavy metal, but still fucking heavy and badass.
No. Yeah.
There's your favorite AC/DC. So what's your memories of this one?
Fuck. You know, the funny thing is that I always had an ongoing love of AC/DC, but Bon Scott was always the most important, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of stuff with them. I remember them. They were always kind of, I think all of us can say this, that AC/DC was always like a huge part of our growing up. Whether we own the records or just you could hear them no matter where you went. AC/DC was just like this background, like no matter what.
Right.
But I think like for me, it's like I remember having my biggest AC/DC period during that Solinare period of Morgion. I mean, I think all of us, that's all we listened to in that period of time at parties at Jeremy's house, and you know, just everything. We're always listening to AC/DC, like no matter what. It was like, I don't know what it was. It was just like, I think that's where, you know, I really just like, Power Age and Let There Be Rock are just, yeah. And it sucks too, because they went back and I guess they remastered, or they took some old, they took all their old records and they went back and took like outtakes or whatever. They changed some of the songs. I don't know if you remember that, but like Dirty Deeds and a few of these songs have changes in them that weren't there originally. And now you can't hear them that way they were originally unless you had the actual old recordings, like first pressings, second pressings and shit. And that really bummed me out. Like they did that. There's a breakdown in Dirty Deeds that like I always thought was like, it had such a great buildup, but then they changed it for some reason when they repressed it, and it's fucking bummed me out.
Name.
Yeah. But yeah, Power Age is, I don't know, it's like, you know, you know, the ongoing question is if you were on a desert island and you can only take 5 records with you, That would be one. That's on there for fucking sure. You know, you could put me in Guantanamo Bay and blast that for fucking 24 hours straight, and I still wouldn't be bummed.
You're
just
good.
to say, yeah. So
nice. All right, so this is something that you turned me on to, a little newer era or whatever, but killer band, you know, and kind of a surprising little project that kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, my brother-in-law, again, you know, talking about my brother-in-law, like some years ago, they basically said, hey, you need to hear this band. And then he was explaining who was in it. And I was like, he's like, yeah, there's fucking, Jason Bonham and, the keyboard player from Dream Theater. And I'm like, hold up. So wait, so you think that you're going to sell me on a record by telling me that somebody from fucking Dream Theater is in this, that I'm going to like this? He's all, just don't worry. Okay. So he's all, you like Deep Purple, right? And I was like, of course. You like Led Zeppelin, right? So of course. Then you're going to love this fucking record. So he put it on, and like the first moment I was sitting there going, what is this called again? I'm like, what is this? I'm like taking the information down. I like bought it immediately.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, they're just, yeah.
Bonamassa?
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was. I swear to God, I had no idea who he's like. Yeah, Joe Bonamassa. I'm like, who the fuck is that? And he's like, oh, dude, he's like this child fucking virtuoso guitar players, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, so is Kenny Wayne Shepherd, but I couldn't give a fuck, you know. And he's like, no, you need, and I was like, okay. So I mean, if Joe Bonamassa, if you ever see this, I'm going to apologize to you right now. I'm so sorry for doubting you. So yeah, he's a fucking phenomenal fucking player, and he's a great fucking singer. Fucking singer. Holy shit, he's got a great voice. Actually, every time I listen to Black Country Communion, I always look forward to the songs he sings, to be honest. So yeah. And there's a live album. I don't know if you've heard it, but there's a live album that in this era of time, because they put out number 1 and number 2 around the same period of time. And then some months later, they did like a extensive European tour, and they fucking videoed the whole thing. And they took all these different performances from different shows. It's like all super professional. And they put it out as an album and put it out as a video. And one of the songs they actually do the Black Country Communion version of a Joe Bonamassa song. And it's like one of my fucking favorite things on that, actually. Like he has man, what's that in the fucking there's this instrument that they use for the theme song for Star Trek. And Bonamassa uses it on stage, and theremin, yeah, he uses a theremin in this one part in the song, and it's just so fucking sick. And and then just again, just them playing, because like listening to a solo band version doing it, he doesn't have Jason Bonham on drums,
right.
It doesn't have, because the bass playing, all of that. It's like you're listening to some heavy hitting hard rock like icons playing that shit. So just saying,
absolutely. This one moving forward.
Oh yeah, again, bringing Jamie up. Jamie's the one that introduced me to this band, and he simply bought the record because it was called Christian Death. It had nothing to do with what is this going to sound like. Nothing. He just I bought a band called Christian Death, and he put it on, and I was at first, when we first heard it, we were trying to kind of understand like what is, because at the period of time, just to give you reference, when I heard this for the first time was the exact same time that the album Napalm Death Scum came out, at the exact same time. So imagine the contrast of these two things,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just remember, and I remember there's like, there's some pretty colorful language on this, and some very like sexual undertones. It was very like different than anything I ever heard. Yeah, and I mean, this opened the door for me to like going, okay, so Bauhaus, The Cure, Love and Rockets, The Church, like all that stuff, the Sisters of Mercy, all that. Just like this was the huge door opener.
Yeah, the dark alternative goth stuff that was really killer, Yeah.
Right. Sure. And then of course, we were all like we're like at this period of time we were like 16. And, we all wanted to date a goth girl. There was also that too. So, so
they'd talk to us if we listened to Christian Death.
Yeah, basically. Do you like The Cure? Fuck.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Do you like
I don't know.
Get the fuck out of here. All right, here's this one.
Yeah.
Alt fucking classic, new wave classic, obviously.
I have my sister to thank for Devo. My sister was a massive Devo fan when she was a teenager, and I heard them all the time. And also my buddy growing up, Herman, was a huge Devo fan too when we were kids. And so, this was, I'd say, when we were talking about earlier, we were mostly talking about metal, but one of the primary things to point out is that the first albums or bands that really were like real bands that I had an impression with, Devo was one, and the second one of all bands was Duran Duran. So.
But Duran Duran was good too, man. The early stuff's really cool.
I still listen to Duran Duran. So I don't trust anyone that uses the terms guilty pleasures. It's like you either like it or you don't fucking like it. It's like, who gives a shit if someone else thinks it's cool or not? I could fucking care less.
Yeah, especially as these assholes get older, they'll know. Unless they're totally total dipshits, they'll know. Their tastes are going to expand. But as musicians too, we like all types of different shit. You know what I mean? Right.
Well, that's the only way you grow as a musician too. You can't just like listen. I mean, as much as I would love to say that I Autopsy is one of my favorite things of all time. I would never be much of a musician if that was the only fucking band I listened to.
Put out Severed Survival again for the millionth time.
Yep. I just like this one part where Chris goes, bleh. That's all I want to hear. So
here's probably the heaviest rock album ever recorded.
Dude, I have to admit that this record I listened to every single day for over a year, nonstop. Yeah, this was the only fucking thing I listened to.
When this came out, you were like, dude, have you heard Caius? I was like, what the fuck is Caius?
Jesus Christ.
You put it on, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think also, too, in that period, I will also admit readily in that period of time that I smoked a lot of weed in that period of time. So there's that as well. But yeah, this is like, I don't know, man. If wood shedding was an album, this would be it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect, for what it is. It's the cream of the crop of that desert rock, stuff for sure.
Which really wasn't even a term back then. There was no such thing as desert rock and all these stoner rock and all that. It didn't exist back then. It was just this.
It was just like they were just a version of us that were out there in the desert throwing their own generator parties and created their own thing just like we did, with our bands in Orange County.
Exactly.
Linking up with people, and then eventually Caius was so good they branched out and fucking got signed and started touring, and the rest is history.
And then bands like Metallica and all these huge artists are all just like fucking slobbing that knob for sure. It's like, holy shit, these guys are the best. So yeah.
And this is probably one of the better rock debuts ever. That especially back in that late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah, late '80s. This. I mean, again, admittingly, I could put 10 fucking butt rock glam records on my list without breaking a sweat, from Dokken to Rat to, you name it. But the thing about this album is that they're not those bands in any way. This is an actual rock band, Southern rock band. This is closer to the Allman Brothers than it would be to Brittany Fox,
Sure.
But also I have to say that this album has kept me alive on a lot of tours, awake while driving, because this is a very great sing-along record. So this has kept me alive and kept all of us from dying a few times on the road. So, that too.
Driving off the mountain in the fucking Rockies.
And the Rockies. Jason! Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, these next couple definitely influenced Morjon there for a little while there.
Massive fucking influence on Morjon. Like the Solinari, the last two records, Solinari and Cloaked, this album is a huge part of this. There's something about this band that just like there's a persona there that's just like unfuckable, like unfuckwithable. Really, is like they're just like, I don't know. I had these DVDs of them that I literally would watch religiously, and there's just something like about them, like live, just watching them playing live. They're fucking, they're one of a kind in every fucking way. And I also should say, for the record, to give Dan Kaufman from Mind Rot 100% credit for fucking introducing me to this to this band. That he was instrumental in that for sure.
Yeah, Dan was always has always been really into artists' music that were pretty unknown to a lot of us, and turning us on to really good stuff, because he turned me on to these guys and this next group too. Dead Can Dance.
I think Gary for Dead Can Dance. Gary's really the one that Gary formerly of Morgion, that he definitely turned me on to this band. And there are so many albums to choose from, but the reason why I chose this record, which is a live record, is the fact that it has kind of a culmination of all their best shit on one record. So that's kind of that. And this is one of those records that I remember just being really fucking stoned after coming home from work, working a night shift or whatever, and just lying in my bed and fucking blasting this record and just, just being in a whole nother fucking world, stoned out of my mind. So, there's just so much depth to this band. And I will say that I'm also very fortunate that I got to see them live. And of all places, I saw them at the fucking Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was Hollywood Bowl, and they had the LA Philharmonic with them.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Dude, it was the sickest fucking show of all time. It's
probably one of the best ones you've seen, I'm sure.
This is one of the best shows I've ever been to. Absolutely. Without fucking question. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's killer. And then we'll end this portion of the list with one of the best bands ever.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And again, I'll give credit where credit is due. The person that really fucking pushed this band on me, because he played them a lot, and it was like I was always just familiar with the "She's Got Legs." I was always introduced to the Eliminator era of ZZ Top, where they were more of a pop group. So I never really gave them a lot of attention in my younger years. And then I met, Mr. Hammock, Mr. fucking Zan Hammock.
Mr.
Who basically,
What's up,
Mr. Texas himself fucking introduced me to multiple ZZ Top records, especially all the great 70s shit. And this opened so many fucking passageways to more awesome shit just from, and this is such a, how many bands can you say have been the same three dudes for multiple decades?
Yep.
And still put out records and still tour the world, and still everyone fucking cares,
Yeah, totally.
No band in, and there's by the way, of anybody that gives a shit, there's a fucking great Netflix documentary.
Yeah, I watched it. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah. I watched it a few times. Yeah, it is very enlightening, especially hearing them talk about the first few records. And
it's one of the best documentaries ever. They're one of the best bands ever, and that's why they remain.
Yep.
R.I.P. Dusty and.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, that fucking crushing. Crushing. It's like one of the best vocalists too. But this album is my choice. I'll be honest, this album's my choice because it just got paid. That's one of my absolute favorite songs of all time. It's like one of the best fucking riffs. Like fucking, yeah, hands down. And Frank Beard is like one of the greatest rock drummers of all time. Like he's a man, a myth, a legend, and he has no beard.
He has no beard, and his name's Beard. You got to love
that. Yeah, you got to. Yeah. So
right, let's get into some fucking movies really quick, because we're both nerds, so we'll get into this list. We're hitting 3 hours. I know our old man butt bones are sore, our backs are sore. We're gonna start wrapping this shit up.
Yeah. All right.
Damn.
Okay, now I just want to say first off is that I had more of a time with this than I did with music. So just say it right off the bat that, I sat there after I sent this to you going, God damn it, I forgot, there was, so just to say, I literally owned this on Laserdisc when I was a kid, and my mom and my sister fucking hated my ass for for so long because I watched this over and over and over and over and over. I know this entire movie like it's my fucking DNA. So just to say,
That's awesome.
So yeah, what a pisser. What a pisser.
Bad for them, good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimate classic. This is definitely one of my all-time favorites too. Here's a creepy one. Not a lot of people know about, but
yeah, that's sad. That's sad. If anybody that calls himself a fan of horror or just a fan of just like really good psychological thrillers, this is like one of the greatest fucking darkest, sinister, fucked up movies. And this is the movie that got fucking Lisa Bonet kicked off the Cosby Show too.
Right.
Ooh, so there's that too.
Crazy shit.
And this is before Mickey Rourke started looking like a mannequin, and just like, and the fact that fucking Robert De Niro's the devil. I mean, it's just like, come on.
Lucifer.
I mean, could you Louis Cypher? Yeah.
Louis Cypher, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, can you possibly not make a greater movie? Nope. So
that's right.
Yeah. Oh God, it's such a great story. Just is such a great fucking. It's like before the M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong fucking movies where everybody's fucking, oh, the twist. Like always the twist. Like he fucking invented them. It's like no, this.
Most of his fucking movies are horrible, anyways. But
oh, he's got his moments. I'll shine a light in his corner. I mean, he's got some moments. He's not making in my top 100, but yeah, for sure. But he's got his moments. I give him credit where credit's due.
And here's the old school one. I'm sure you used to watch this with your dad.
Yeah, this is literally I watched on Easter almost every day of my life as a kid, and honestly, Ben-Hur is one of my favorite films, not just for the reasons of that, but it's a fucking phenomenal revenge movie.
Yeah,
in general, that's a fucking great revenge movie. The only other movie, in my opinion, that's in the same caliber as this is The Count of Monte Cristo.
Okay.
So. But this is and I also own the score of this. I have a double disc score version. It's in a really cool case that I got at a fucking swap meet with Gary for like fucking $5 or something. And so I listen to that on occasion. I'm not gonna lie, I listen to that on occasion too. It's fucking great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Good soundtrack though, and then boom.
Well, yeah, this is the most impressionable movie of my life. I mean,
I don't trust anybody that doesn't love this movie, by the way. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. And you know what? I've seen a lot of people talk about the remake and everything, and it's absolutely nothing against fucking Jason Momoa. I don't. That movie doesn't hold a candle in general. Just in a candle in a forest fire compared to this fucking movie. Like there's something that can, this is John Milius. Okay. So just to say, and the people out there that don't know who that is, John Milius is one of the most important fucking filmmakers of the 80s in general. And anybody that has anything negative to say to that can literally go fuck off because John Milius is the fucking man. So, the one of the greatest stories that I love about John Milius that a lot of people don't know, and it's a part of his documentary, is that the entire scene in Jaws, which you and I, of course, we talk about Jaws all the time. It's like one of our favorite movies. And of course, I'm saddened that it's not in this top 10. Sorry, everyone. But Jaws is one of the greatest films ever made. But the scene in Jaws where they're on the ship and they're all drinking and they're just sitting there talking, and he tells the story of the USS Indianapolis.
Yep.
An entire scene was written by John Milius.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people don't know that. So, and it's like one of the best scenes of that whole fucking movie, by the way.
It's also one of the best. It's probably the best film monologue of all time, arguably.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just
exactly.
Killed it, man. Just
exactly.
Everything about it.
And Milius and see the other thing about Conan is how bare bones it is. There's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. There's just a lot of visual representation. And there's just a lot of just straight up just fucking acting and just I mean. Look at everybody that's in it and just where just the special effects, which are totally practical, which has always been my number one, and the fact that basically the costumes, the storytelling, everything about this movie is fucking flawless. There is nothing in this movie that doesn't rule. So
Yeah. No, totally agree.
know.
All fucking timer, definitely on my list as well, as is this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, talking about, dude, John Carpenter, picking a favorite John Carpenter, that's a fucking rough thing for
So many
sure.
classics.
Oh my God. I mean, please. I mean, just from The Thing to, Big Trouble in Little China, fucking Prince of Darkness. There's so many fucking great movies.
Escape from New York. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, dude.
Take
Yeah.
your pick, man. Take your pick.
Don't get me started. But yeah, Escape from New York is just, to me, I'd say it rises just a little bit above everything else, just simply because it is such an incredibly unique movie in every way. Something about it is just so like, it's incomparable. And the story and just the whole idea behind it, everything about it, all the people that are in it. I mean, it's got Ernest Borgnine in it, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's phenomenal in every way. Fucking, what's his name? Plays Brain. Yeah, dude. I mean, come on. So yeah, and of course, this is like my first like real movie of seeing Kurt Russell and just that long term admiration of Kurt Russell.
Yep.
So
he's such a fucking badass, fucking snake.
Yeah. Fucking Isaac Hayes is the bad guy. I mean, Jesus Christ, come on. So yeah, I mean,
and of course, Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne Barbeau, who was dating John Carpenter in that period of time, or they were married. They were together in that period of time.
Yeah, man.
So
I'd be dating a few back then,
Oh yeah, Cannonball Run herself.
That's right.
Yeah.
So here's a newer era movie that.
Yeah, this probably threw you for a curve. I'm sure this threw you for a curve.
I know you recently talked about it. I haven't seen it. Obviously, Julia Roberts she could be underrated. Ethan rules, and Ali, man, that guy is.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, he's the fucking man, like without question. And of course, Kevin Bacon's in it too.
Okay.
Yeah, but just to sum up, the thing is that I was looking for something to watch, and I had never seen the ads for this. I knew nothing about it. I literally walked right into it, no idea. I put on the preview and started watching it, and I'm going to be honest with everyone right now. I'm not a fan of Julia Roberts. There's very many things that she's in I do not like. She is not one of my favorites for damn sure.
Shit, man, but
yeah. But
she's really good.
She does. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, she worked out in Ocean's 11, so I'll give her that. But
Erin Brockovich, dude, she was fucking.
Erin Brockovich is a very good movie. Yeah, I agree. But I just, again, with her, I just never really been a fan. Now, however, this movie, like when I saw it, I think the thing that first sold me is I saw Ethan Hawke, and I was like, okay, I'm on board.
Yeah,
even if this sucks, it has Ethan Hawke in it. So, okay, I'll live, So the thing about this is the impression with this, and I really don't want to say anything because if there's anyone, you included, I don't want to tell anybody the premise of this movie in any way, but I will tell you that this movie surprised me in so many fucking ways. The storytelling is absolutely the top tier best storytelling I've even witnessed in I don't know how long. I'm already through the book right now, by the way. That's how serious I got with this. Like if you're going to get me to read the book, which doesn't take a lot to be honest, but I mean, me, I've always been a voracious reader, but I when I saw this movie, there were so many moments that I sat there laughing at myself that I was going, what the fuck? Like the thriller aspect of this and how so very subtle everything is in this, and it is considered a post-apocalyptic movie, by the way. But as soon as you bring that term, the first thing that people come up with is like, Road Warrior or like, the stuff like zombies. That. No, zombies. Yeah. This is not that movie. Not even fucking close. Not in a million years. It's not in the same ballpark, not the same sport. It's totally a whole nother thing. But I will tell you, when you watch this film, and I'm sorry to say this to everyone, including you too, Mike, is that if you guys don't like this movie, we shouldn't be talking. Like, sorry, telling you, this movie is fucking incredible. So,
all right.
Yeah.
It's 2 thumbs up.
Yes.
Then there's
if I had 2 more thumbs, it'd be 4 thumbs down. Yeah, this Monty Python is a childhood love that's gone on through my entire life. Monty Python is a literally can never be fucking topped, you know. Which also too, when we were talking about horror movies and me being bummed out, I mean, you know, see, to me, I think if you were gonna pick like comedy greats, like the comedy giants of all time, Monty Python would be there. Fucking Richard Pryor is definitely there, and George Carlin. So, so I am bummed to say that, you know, I would have loved to put fucking Brewster's Millions in this because that is still one of my top. But I have to say that Monty Python, the Holy Grail, dude, there's nothing fucking legendary more than this fucking movie. So,
absolutely. No, these guys,
you know,
are just a dream team of
yeah,
comedians. Just everything about them just fucking ruled.
Yeah.
Everything they did fucking ruled.
And also, I have a great Bart story too that it has something to do with Monty Python. But one of Bart's like big favorites that me and him both like bonded over a lot over was the movie Yellowbeard, which is like, yeah, which is like, you know, people from Holy Grail. It has SCTV people. It's got some Mel Brooks people and Cheech and Chong all in one film, and that movie is absolutely brilliant, and it would definitely be in my top too.
They got everybody together, so yeah.
Oh,
I was surprised Yellowbeard wasn't on the list, but I knew we were going to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like either that or Monty Python Holy Grail, and honestly, Monty Python Holy Grail is just the king shit here right now, to be honest. So,
fuck yeah. And then this movie, it's kind of funny because me and my brother Tom, we saw this 3 times in a row in the theater. We just ran back in, and they let us back in, and we watched it again. It was so good.
Oh, dude,
it was incredible. It's 3 times.
Yeah. When I was a kid, and I was waiting to see this in the theater, and it came out, and I was, you know, of course, you know, you're kind of, you know, at the mercy of your parents or your older siblings when you get to go to movies half the time. And so I was waiting to see this movie. It had been out, and we were at the store somewhere, and I had like a couple bucks, and I bought the book of this, like the cinema version on book, and I would just sit in my room and just read it, even though I couldn't see the movie yet. I just wanted to see that movie so bad that I'm a little kid, just like, dude, I can, you know, I'm at, I think, what was I, at 4th grade level, you know, reading a novel in 4th grade level reading. So yeah, so that's how determined I was about this movie. But yeah, I've watched this movie so many times as a kid and just as an adult in general. There's this, you know, Spielberg's finest moment, in my opinion.
Perfection, you know? Man. Yeah, I mean, he really got on the map with Jaws, but then he really perfected himself with this.
Oh yeah,
you know
that somebody is remaking Duel. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's crazy thought. And just to also point out one thing with Raiders is that, did anybody else just like think the entire time is, why didn't they just fucking go into those little rock that were coming out of the wall next to the airport? If they just went in that entrance there instead of digging up that whole thing and falling into snakes and shit, just if they moved that one fucking block, they would have found the Ark of the Covenant. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it, you know. So anyway.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah, all that shit.
This is a underrated Western. Fucking Costner knows how to do these, man.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. I want to see his new one big time. Yeah. Yeah, this is an all-star. You know, it's funny. I had ceremonial decay practice last night, and me and Jordan and Eric were fucking talking this movie up big time last night. The cast in this is just unfuckwithable. Yeah, I mean, like Jesus Christ.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's so incredible. Like everything about this movie. And this was the first time I ever saw Kevin Costner on the silver screen. Yeah. So, you know, he definitely made a huge impression in this movie. But also too, you know, how you and I have always talked is that, you know, we had a lot of bonding moments with our dads, and you know, when it came to movies, was our bonding moments with our fathers. And this was a huge bonding moment with me and my dad. So this is a number one reason why this is in my list, because of him. So for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, our fathers showed us the classic Westerns, you know.
Oh yeah.
Stuff and the
oh yeah. And all those fucking spaghetti Westerns.
Westerns, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the Ugly, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Silverado. So I always say Silverado is really underrated. I love Unforgiven, but that got a lot of hype, and deservedly so. Unforgiven fucking rules.
Silverado's a better movie. I'm sorry.
Silverado is fucking awesome, though.
Yeah, way better. This is a huge epic. So.
And then here is the best.
Yeah, I mean,
it's my favorite Star Wars flick.
It's I think it's like one of those things where it's like it's just a fucking given. If you don't mention that you like this movie, then there's something fucking wrong with you. So, just basically, but yeah, Empire. I the funny thing is, I was just thinking about this recently, is that Empire is funny because I remember seeing it with my sister. My sister took me. My older sister, and she took me to theater with like a couple of my cousins, I think, and we went. We were visiting family in Bakersfield, and anyone out there that doesn't know where Bakersfield is, just be happy you don't. And anyway, I went to the theater. I was a little kid, man. This is like what year is this? Is this 79, 80? Like right, 80?
80, yeah, right around 80.
80. Yep. So I was fucking like a 7-year-old kid, a little kid. And we come out of the theater, and I mean, the big reveal in this is the fact that you find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Right, so right. I'm coming out of the theater and I'm telling fucking everybody, hey, and my sister's like trying to get me to shut up, and I was just so excited. It's like, oh my, and I just couldn't believe it. I look back at that and I frown just a little bit, but
an asshole.
That was but I wasn't intentionally trying to be an asshole. This is just information I needed to tell somebody. Just unfortunately, everyone found out about it, from me, early on. Sorry, everyone. But you live in Bakersfield, so I don't feel sorry for you. So sorry. So.
There you go. All right. So we'll move over to some TV shows real quick, and we'll wrap all this up.
All right.
Let's see. Boom.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you and I have talked about this fucking about 1 billion times.
Yeah.
Yeah. The greatest, the one of the greatest shows ever made, and it ends phenomenally great. Like, you can't say that about a lot of shows, Yeah,
it's one of those weird ones that actually it was better at the end than the supposed classic start. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I agree. The way they ended it was just so incredible.
Just the culmination of how everything just brought its way to that, and just the character development, and just the acting, and and so many great lines in general. One of the greatest fucking bad guys in fucking history is on this show.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, this is the fucking flawless show. It's in every way.
No, absolutely. So. Abso-fucking-lutely. It, like I said, it ended better than it even started, and I thought that was going to be impossible. But, the last 2 episodes were the best. It was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But here's a little Downtown Abbey. I was like, what the fuck when I saw this?
Downton Abbey, yeah. Yeah, Lily, my spouse, my loving Lily, basically, she... you and I have you guys have busted my balls about this. I don't know how many times. And, the fact that I can sit through fucking, chick flicks and whatnot. And, my love of Hugh Grant, but, yeah, this show is fucking epic, man. This is so epic. Great period piece, great acting. All the characters are fucking amazing. And, yeah.
Okay, so Downtown Abbey. Yeah, like I said, that was an interesting choice. But hey,
dude, this show is fucking incredible, man. It's very epic. It's a period piece. It's this this English family. Part of the some removed part of the royal line, and the whole show starts in like right before World War One. And then it just kind of proceeds from that point forward, and it's just basically this progression of this family, this English family, and it's just really, it's got some fucking it's great acting, great characters, great fucking just great storytelling. It's fucking incredible, and the best character of the whole fucking is the dowager grandma. She's the fucking best character of this whole fucking show. She fucking cracks me the fuck up. So. like I said, people, you know me. The one thing you've known about me is the fact that when it comes to TV and movies, I'm pretty fucking open-minded. So,
Yeah, for sure.
That's one of the only things on this planet that I'm open-minded about. So you ask me about metal, I'll tell you everything fucking sucks. But this shit, yeah.
Yeah. Here's another one. I've never heard of this one, but I like him, Harold. He's always good whatever he's in.
The best thing I could tell you about this is the fact that everybody remembers Lost, right? Everybody does. Lost was one of those shows that it just came out the gate as, oh my God, this is great. And then it just basically shat that bed so fucking bad by the end. It's like you just didn't want to even remember you ever watched it,
Right.
From is interesting because From is a very gory, very, very, very fucking just absolute. Just it's a horror movie. It's a horror TV show. It's very horror. But imagine if Lost was horror, right?
Okay.
And it hasn't. It's only been on for 2 seasons. I think they're doing a 3rd one soon. And hopefully they'll be smart and not let this shit linger for a really long fucking time. But it's got great storytelling. It's got a great idea. Acting. Not so much. Acting's a bit weak, but I have always been able to get past that though. When you have a great story idea, I'm on board. So but it's just basically a group of people that basically find themselves stuck in this town that they can't leave. It's like almost Twilight Zone in this. They just pull into this town, and every time they try to drive away to leave, it just brings them right back. And then, and these people are stuck there. And during every single evening, when the evening comes, these people that are not people come out and they try to make their way into the whatever, because it's like a little town. So there's all these little houses and they're trying to make their way into these houses to basically fucking tear them limb from limb. So yeah, it's like I said, it's got some really fucking good gore and like it's very graphic and it's a great horror like show. It's really good in that aspect. But if you're looking for fucking Oscar winning fucking acting, that you're definitely not going to find it here. So
Harold's always really good, but yeah, I don't know.
I like him, but there's some pretty bad acting in this in general. But it's But I've told a few people about it. It's like it's also on a network that's like not something that most people will stream. It's on MGM Plus, but I think I think it's finding its way on Prime. I think so. People can you can at least see the first season on Prime right now.
Yeah,
so
check it out. And then there's rest in peace, Michael K. Man, that's my guy right there. You told me about this show.
This show is like one of the most unique and like one of the greatest buddy like anything ever written. Like these two are fucking phenomenal together. This show it's got great action. It's got great it's got some suspense and thriller stuff to it. It's got really good like oddball fucking moments. It's all based in the 80s. And all three seasons delve into like specific subjects. So like the first season's about a heist, the second season's about a serial killer, and the third season is about the Ku Klux Klan, and it's all in West Texas. East Texas, excuse me. It's in East Texas, the Texarkana, like over in that area. Okay. But all the people in it, it's fucking phenomenal, but it's also really fucking funny too. So it's unique. I've never seen anything quite like it. So
yeah, I know it was pretty critically well loved. I remember hearing about it. I remember you telling me about it. I just haven't had a chance to watch it. But like I said, if Michael K's in it, I'm watching it, man. Rest in peace.
He is one of the funniest fucking characters on that show, hands down. He's fucking hilarious. So yeah, he rules. That guy rules.
Oh yeah. And then this is the show that makes you want to take a shower after, man. It was fucking brutal.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. This is one of those things that I wish that my dad was alive to see. He would have loved the fuck out of this show.
Total throwback,
Oh, dude. So many great characters, so many great moments. This is one of those few things where I actually literally, missed it up, got some tears going in the few moments in the show. It just really fucking gets you. So, yeah. But just phenomenal in every way. Yeah. it starts great, ends great. It's a fucking great show.
Yeah, definitely. No, he's a fucking badass too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's The Leftovers.
This is a great book, but also like this is a mind fuck of a show. So that's like another thing. It's like it's really doesn't go in a direction that you can really predict, and everybody in this show is an absolute fucking mess. So it's oh man, like dude, like it's I think the thing that makes this show so brilliant is in the first season, it starts off and you have like no real idea what the fuck is going on. And they don't even explain anything of why the characters are the way they are until the 7th episode. So you're getting all this context of it building up to the idea of it is basically it's kind of like Rapture, where all these people are fucking doing their thing, and then 1 minute half of the fucking world disappears.
Wow.
So they just disappear, and they don't know why. No one understands why they're gone. And it starts off in that, and you see all these incredibly fucking broken people. And you don't know why I mean, even though, yeah, people disappeared, but it's like, why are they so fucked up this specific way? Like, why are they like this? And then by the time it gets to the 7th episode shows you the day before everyone disappears. So you see where people were starting, and then makes sense of why they got to where they are. And then the way the show does this big, like it does a full circle by the time it comes to the end. And the book is this fucking incredible, but it's a mind fuck of a show. I mean, if you want to watch something that's just going to blow your fucking mind, watch that shit. Like that Leaving the World Behind movie, same thing. You're just gonna be like, what the fuck? So I love that shit. I love this stuff where you don't have to be spoon fed a story, you know, where you can just sit there and you can predict exactly where every fucking thing is going because they've done it a million times in the past. This is one of those ones that are just like, yeah, it's very unique, very of itself. So
that's a clever writing, you know.
Yeah, very much so. Great acting too. Great fucking people in it. Yeah, great people in it. So
yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites.
Oh my God. Yeah, this show blew my mind. This show will fucking just absolutely suck you in the first 5 minutes of the first episode, you know? So yeah, this show is just unfucking real. So fucking good.
The casting
I like binged. Yeah, I binged this shit. Like I literally was like, I don't even need to go to bed. I'm going to watch this all the way through. Fuck this, you know? It's like my weekend is committed. You know, here we are.
Mr. Holt McElhaney there on the right, the actor. He actually spoke to Fincher, and Fincher has changed his mind. He's thinking about doing season 3. So fingers crossed.
From what I heard it's actually going forward because Fincher had too many things going on to continue, so he had to back out. But I've heard that everything I've read says that they're actually going to come back.
Yeah, so that's what it was up to Fincher at this point, you know, and he finally said, "Yeah,
dude, I hope so, man."
Yeah. You know, they got to put Bundy, Ramirez, Dahmer, talk to all those people. And then when they finally cut Raider, you know, because they do is fucking everybody that's watching this, you fucking seen this, you already know that.
No,
so we don't have any spoilers. Everybody, all the metalheads and fucking psychos that we know, they all watch this shit too, because we all told each other, dude, this fucking show rules. So
I know. At the very end when they were just setting it up for fucking the BTK.
Right.
So yeah, dude. Fuck.
It's
so good.
Fucking incredible. There's so many more fucking killers that they need to talk to. And then obviously stories with these people too.
Right.
It's fucking
and then also giving you like this background of where forensics just came from, like the infancy of this whole thing and just how, you know, that's pretty great.
Yeah. Well, I've been reading a lot of the John Douglas books recently. I've been buying them a lot and even have some on my Kindle and whatnot. And there's so much more they can get into, man. You know, it's just so crazy. You know, here is another all-time favorite.
Oh, dude.
One of mine too. I remember my dad telling me, Michael, you need to be like Rockford. Nice and fucking smooth. Clever. Be clever and smooth like fucking Rockford.
Keep your gun in your cookie jar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And don't hang out with anybody named Angel.
Oh yeah, exactly. Stay away from anyone named Angel. Exactly. Yeah, the thing is like there's like the biggest impressions I have from this is that I'm gonna do this. I was telling you I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get somebody in graphic design to put together a picture of his dad, and then with the same fucking artwork and the same logo as the Rocky logo, but just him all, that still of him in the beginning of the show with his dad all with a cigar in his mouth, and just that, but do it as a Rocky poster, but just of his dad, so I can hang it on the wall and people can come in and go, what the fuck is this? Just so I can just leave him in suspense. Like, well, if you don't know, then
I can't tell.
There's the door. There's a door right there. You need to fucking leave. So that and the fact that this show has like the raddest cars of all time, and the fact that this dude like lives in a fucking at the beach in fucking Malibu of all places, in a mobile home, literally on the sand, like on the sand.
Mobile home too, not like a big double wide or anything.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, if you're going to point out that people saying that how movies are unrealistic and shows are unrealistic and aliens and spacecraft and all that shit, time travel, all of that. Can I point out this little wrinkle right there of a fucking mobile home on a beach in Malibu just by itself for like, let's really talk about suspending reality, in every way.
Right. Rockford was fucking smooth, man. That's why everybody loved him. In that sense. Jim can stay.
Yeah, exactly. Jim's fine. He can live on the beach. It's like how he has electricity, how he has fucking working plumbing. Where his shit goes, no one knows. But hey, it's all good.
Just a timeless classic. Yeah, my dad got me into Rockford Files and Columbo, and those are two that I still watch to this day.
So like fucking like it just shows how much of an idiot I am. Is that I remember when Lily and I first got together, I would set my alarm to wake me up at 3:30 so I could go downstairs to the living room to watch a rerun of the Rockford Files. This is 20 years ago. Keep in mind, to watch a rerun of Rockford Files at 3:30 in the morning on fucking Nick at Night. Like, no bullshit. Nice. I would wake up middle of the night to go watch an episode and then go back upstairs and go back to bed.
You're a fucking dedicated fan, man.
Hey, you don't fuck with Rockford, man. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, so this The Wire is my favorite TV show of all time. So, but like, it's not even close for me. I mean, Breaking Bad, Sopranos is right there, but The Wire is like a step up.
Oh yeah, I listened to you talk about the show for the longest time, and of course I didn't even watch it till the pandemic. So I was always trying to find something new to watch, and I remember you talking about it. And as soon as I put this on, I felt like the biggest fucking asshole on the planet for letting that much time go by of not watching one of the greatest cop shows of all time, with like the best characters of all time. Like, I mean, the one takeaway, Mike, that I will say from this that I remember forever is the one line I will take away is, "You happy bitch?" That I swear to God, I will keep that for fucking ever, man. You happy bitch? So yeah,
that was season 2 with all the bodies, the girls in the trailer, remember? And
Snoop, yeah.
He fucking kept fucking no, it's in your jurisdiction. The detective team the homicide unit needs to take it. So to go see what's up. And Bart looked up, "You happy bitch?"
You happy bitch? No, actually, in the very first episode, when he was fucking with that judge or whatever, and something happened, he said it like when they were standing on the shoreline. Like, "You happy bitch?" He says that. I was just that's the impression. Everyone always takes the she like that. Like, which he's again, there is literally every character on the show is brilliant in every way. So
no, Clay Davis rules, and it's like
my God,
it's kind of interesting too. Like, fucking, you end up rooting for the criminals like Omar and Avon a lot. It's like all of a sudden it's like they're not even even villains. They're just anti-heroes. I didn't like Marlowe. I didn't like Stringer. I wanted them fucking shot in the head automatically, but you root for Omar, you root for Avon. That's just me, I guess. Some people might like guys.
Yeah. Well, no, I think I was just rooting for everyone, to be honest. I was on everybody's side on this, but I mean, homeboy, what's his name? We were just talking about him, Happen Leonard.
Michael K. Williams.
He is his character, in my opinion. Omar is the greatest character of this whole show, hands down, hands down. But the other thing that you and I always talked about too is like all the actors from this, we've all been like basically going, but from the Wire, we'll see shit they've done like recently or last, after this. Well, they'll always be that character from the Wire. What's his name is Jerry and Bosch.
Oh yeah, so, he's always going to be Marlowe. Yeah.
Marlowe is, but we'll always remember him as Marlowe, but he's Jerry and Bosch.
Even the boss in Bosch too. He's Daniels on the Wire, and he's always going to be Daniels too.
Dude, oh my god, I love that guy so fucking much, and it's just an absolute fucking crime that he passed away.
Yeah,
absolute crime. He's like one of the best actors of the last fucking 30 years.
Shit, that was cool in that new Bosch show. He popped up at the end of that last episode to talk.
Yeah,
I was like,
oh,
man, and he had already passed, and it's like,
damn,
man.
And he made it in the last episode of John Wick too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So and they killed him off, which is sad because then he passed away like right after that. Right. So it's kind of felt like that was like prophetic in some way. So.
Yeah, but the Wire fucking rules. All right, let's wrap this up real quick. I want to make sure we mention one of the best local bands, the Venom cover band, Sons of Satan. So everybody keep an eye out for that. I don't know what you guys got going on locally. I know you're not recording anything, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Venom cover song, so yeah. We just try to change it up every once in a while. So like throw out a few, curveballs, not give everyone exactly what they're expecting. So
then you mentioned also Ceremonial Decay too. So you're gonna do an album. Is that gonna be with Jimmy on Transylvanian, or are you looking for a label? Or
that's we're gonna work with Jimmy for sure. Yeah, nice. It'd be stupid not to. Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's our boy. What's up, James?
Yeah, fucking this. Looking forward to this because the songs are just a little bit more mature than the demo, and a lot of the stuff we're coming up with, we're all really happy with. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, this next one. So I already have like the title, and since the first thing we did was based on the fall of the Roman Empire, the end of the fall of Constantinople. The next one's going to be the fall of the Ottoman Empire. This is the next one. Since the Ottomans took out, the Romans, so now we're going to take out the Ottomans.
Oh shit!
So yeah, that's some nerdy shit right there for everyone. We're gonna write in a record about actual history. So be different.
Dumb fucks.
Well, I mean, it's also different than, writing about Dungeons and Dragons or shit I've already done. So again, me, everything I'm doing, I'm always trying to basically do something I haven't done. So
fucking nerds.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So real quick, we spent a lot of fucking time on Morjon, but we got a lot of good memories and history with that. So I knew that was going to happen. And then obviously the pop culture stuff, because you and I fucking constantly talk about all the movies and TV shows and bands that influence us or whatever. But you did mention Stygian Crown earlier. So you guys are going to start recording the next album. Is it going to be with the same label? We'll do Cruz del Sur again, and we'll probably work. Well, I'm almost positive we'll work with the same people that I think this last record, all the people that we put this together with, I think this was the right combination in every way. So we're going to try to keep all the same players involved in the next record for sure. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, also too, I just think it was like, man, this is the recipe that worked. So I mean, just then, we started off the first record. You're kind of filling your way around. It's like you're trying to see what you can do, and then by the time we did the second record, it just felt like everything really coalesced a lot. Like everything was really exactly. We wrote a record exactly. I look back at that, and I think it's like one of my happiest, achievements was that last record for sure. You know,
Good.
so yeah.
Cool.
But I mean,
Yeah.
we're not gonna like, you know, do any like major. You're still gonna get the same thing from the band. You know, it's like our worship of all things Candlemass and Bolt Thrower. So, you know,
You're
as
not
much
gonna
as
sound like No Doubt.
no, there's going to be no Tragic Kingdom on that record. We're going to stay as far away from Anaheim as possible. So,
Real big fish, bro. You hear that new Stygian Crown? Holy shit, there's stars on it.
we're going to move to fucking South Orange County and just be Blink 182 as much as we can. So, you know, as much. You're going to blink and we're 182.
Oh, shit.
Yep. Yep.
All
That's
right
good.
on, brother. We fucking all we talked about is Morjon and pop culture, and we still almost hit 4 hours. So,
Jeez. Sorry, everyone.
yeah, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this? This is worse than the Caton chat. This is longer.
Anyone that works the night shift and needs something to do, we've occupied 3 hours and 40 minutes of your time.
I always say too, the radio shows that I do and these interviews, like it's better for driving and at work, podcasting type stuff or whatever, because you could listen to it. I mean, yeah, we have visuals, but we pretty much talked about all the visuals and a little bit of music or whatever. But
true,
you know, these fucking assholes, they ask for interviews, and I've been around for a long time. We know a lot of fucking people, so you know, got a fucking long list. I had to get you on there. Got Caton, now I got you, so fucking we'll spread it around.
Holy shit! I followed Caton. I followed Caton.
Hey man, this was great though. It was great chatting with you, and I
definitely, man.
Setting aside, I know it's fucking dinner time. I'm fucking starving, so
yeah.
We're fucking fat, so we got to go eat. You know.
Yeah, well, I'm working on that.
You're doing killer, man. You're doing killer. I know we didn't really get into the health stuff too much, and I don't know how much you wanted to make public about it, but we're all fucking super stoked that you're making it through and fucking kicking ass.
I appreciate that. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's been an ongoing fucking process. So, you know,
fucking scary
I'll
shit.
talk about it and you know, the aftermath of certain things I'm dealing with now, but it's, you know, it is not a you know, for anyone out there that has ever thought of what a heart attack is like, I can give you sage-like advice. Don't ever have one. So yeah, it fucking sucks, like in every way. So it's definitely sent my life for a loop, and in some ways it's actually been beneficial. So there's also that too, because it's moving me in a more healthy, you know, world that I wasn't in before. But yeah, it's been a fucking huge learning curve, man. I got to tell you. So.
Oh, I'm fucking sure, man. That's an understatement.
You know,
so. Hey, whatever happened, fucking, you're still here. It's working, so you know it's just kind of keep moving, fucking forward.
Totally, absolutely, brother.
Right on, brother. Well, thank you again, man. Much love.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll end it here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment on there. Just don't be a fucking troll, or I'm gonna call you out on the next video, like I've been doing. That's always fun. All right, motherfuckers.
All right, fuckers.
Hey, everybody say hi, Thorgrimm.
Thorgrimm, destroy.
Thorgrimm, destroy.